reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you will realize that the only things that truly exist in this reality are merely pain, suffering, and futility. Listen, everywhere you look in this world, wherever there is light, there will always be shadows to be found as well.
What is up? What is up, everybody? Warmest of welcomes to one and all to Reality Decoded, and as always, thank you for choosing to tune in to this latest installment of Shit Video Productions, which is titled Canadian Brain Syndrome. Almost lost my train of thought then at the fact that we've got 8 people watching and absolutely no regular offenders, but maybe some new regular offenders or some to be regular offenders. Welcome 49 in Modus, driving 90 miles an hour, and he's just snagged another 5 ounce of AG. That's always good to snag any amount of ounceage of sweet marijuana. So we've got Modus and 49 commenting, and we've got a few silent stragglers in the background, maybe waiting to make their entrance. But welcome guys. It is nice to see a few new faces in the thrift store studio, and as I said, the doors are welcome to one and all. Come one, come all. Be excellent to each other. There's Prepper Chick in Texas, one of the OG offenders. She used to watch me before anybody did, isn't that right? JBG, when I used to have 6 subscribers and nobody used to watch my videos. Although sometimes have more subscribers, less views, but nonetheless I do endeavor to try to bring thought, opinion, educational information and alternative news as I see it for whatever it is you make it in. And over the last couple of days we had a little bit of sort of prosperous productivity here at the thrift store studio, and sort of at a period in time a couple of weeks ago I was feeling a little bit down in the dumps. What is the point? Should I sort of keep going on? The last few days is sort of given me more than enough incentive to keep doing so, and that is possibly mostly result to Al 1978. I don't think she hears ear at the moment, but she's been one of my strongest supporters in my time of being a YouTuber, and she has sent a lot of cool folks to the thrift store. So the regular offenders, please open your arms and welcome the new crew to the proceedings, and hopefully I won't disappoint you. Now this welcome, Ruth, you're yes, I am. You're Toronto East, I'm Toronto West. If you're a Torontonian, you know that if you're on the east side, you won't go west of Yonge Street, and if you're like me in the west, very rarely go east of Yonge. And Ruth, do you ever go north of Bloor? That's a Toronto thing. Welcome. Nice to also have a fellow Torontonian, especially as I was just mentioning from Al 1978. If she may make an appearance yet or not remains to be seen, but I do owe her an awful lot, and shout outs sometimes don't sort of really cut the amount of appreciation that I really do wish to give. But this evening in the stream I did actually intend to bring you last night, but since Friday and the thought control stream, I've had an awful lot of weird incidences going on with my software and some of my sort of media outlets. Both of my Facebook accounts, I have a main Facebook account which is attached to a Reality Decoded page, and also have a Reality Decoded sort of account, the TSP Facebook account. Some of you may follow along over there, but I woke up Saturday morning to find that one had been given a 3-day ban. That was the TSP account, and my main account I just can't, it's not banned, I've not got a strike, I just can't comment, post, share, react, or do absolutely anything. Only look, it is what on there. Now the other interesting thing, Sunday night we did do a restream of All Out Apocalypse Part 2 very successfully. We got through that with almost no glitches whatsoever, and that was what I was calling it the unstreamable stream, because up until that point in time it had been shut down 4 times in a row every time I did attempt to bring you that, and I do believe that was because of our good old Algo friend that does like to sort of keep us safe from harm and not hear or see anything that deems that we shouldn't do. But that was a little bit of a successful result, and again, one of those little sort of incentive boosts that, yes, Defiance overcome the establishment. But that was a little bit result. And the other sort of interesting thing was that I had already previously uploaded just the presentation part. As you guys know, I do sort of do my pre-recordings of the presentation, do a bit of live, show you what I got to say, and then afterwards we have a little bit of a talk, chill out, a joke or two, and then say good night. But as I said, I sort of do pre-record, so I can actually upload the pre-recording separately, which I did, and I only got 27 views. But lucky enough, we restreamed it on Sunday night, and it got 76 views, I think, last time. And again, I'm not here to go viral or looking to be, you know, getting millions of views, thousands of thumbs up in that. I am just trying to sort of share a little bit of information with you, maybe sort of show off a little bit of my sort of what I consider editing skills. And bear in mind, I do all of this on my phone, guys, using mostly free software. But the interesting thing was that not only were my Facebook accounts shut down, somehow the microphone on my phone, and this is something that happens quite a lot of times, is almost a pattern that sometimes after certain streams my microphone will be deactivated. And any of you guys who do have a phone know, if you want to deactivate your phone, you have to kind of go into settings, open up a whole lot of stuff, deny it, and then it will sort of put up a pop-up. Do you really want to deny these access? Things won't work properly, yada yada, whoopie woo. But my microphone had been deactivated, and why that was so kind of become apparent to me is because I did do a little bit of recording that I did intend to put into the All Out Apocalypse Part 2 rerun. However, once I'd done my recording, I discovered that there was no audio, and I had to do a little bit of troubleshooting. By troubleshooting, I mean I had to reset my phone 17 times before the microphone worked again. Now, again, that's not something I went out of my way to consciously do, deactivate the phone, and I do believe that is artificial intelligence and maybe some targeting. Oh my god, this guy's talking too much, let's shut him up. But this is where it gets even weirder, because once I recalibrated my phone, got the microphone working, did my re-recording, edit, you know, piece together editing in the sort of my editing app, hopefully to put into a presentation on Sunday, or into the presentation on Sunday night. Lo and behold, the editing app stopped and froze at 94%. So I had 6% to go to completion, and it just froze completely for good. And luckily enough, I did have a sort of backup copy with the sort of stuff that didn't have the additional edits in, so that was how we were managed to get the stream out Sunday night. But the similarity happened again yesterday. Now, I sort of woke up yesterday morning, and during the stream, I think it was actually you, 49, and if it was, then this stream is kind of spawned from a comment you made in that Sunday night stream about the Canada brain syndrome. Now, I sort of woke up yesterday, started watching Al. Actually, she gave me a phone call. I had breakfast with her over the phone, and spliff and a coffee. And I watched her stream, and it was a sort of day where it's partly sunny, partly cloudy. So when it's sunny, I sat out and tunned my lily white ass. And then when it was cloudy, come in and did a little bit of editing and putting together tonight's presentation. It was meant to be last night's, and lo and behold, the editing app stopped and froze at 94%. Now, I sort of had a little bit of time on my hands before my intended scheduled time of 9 p.m. So I reset it, lowered the pixelation, tried again, same thing, got to 94%, had to recalibrate, do a little bit more tweaking on the thing, the sort of editing, pressed process, and again it got to 94% and would not go any further. So I sort of abandoned any attempts yesterday to bring this stream, which was unfortunate, because I did sort of put a shout out to a couple of people, and by all accounts there were a few people ready and waiting to go for that stream to start. But unfortunately, due to what I believe is algorithmic interference, I was unable to get my presentation processed and edited in time. But lucky enough, I managed to sort of troubleshoot and get my head around it. And finally get the edit to completion. But this evening's stream again is Canadian brain syndrome, which is a mysterious illness that is being reported that is taking place out in New Brunswick. 48 people apparently have been affected by this, and I do believe it was 49. It drew my attention. I did a little bit of looking into it on a Sunday night and again on sort of Monday morning rather. And it does seem to be borrowing very, very, very much from the Havana syndrome script, and it does seem to be very, very similar symptoms that tie the two together. Although here, north of the border, they're not sort of blaming the Russians for microwave weapons like they are south of the border. But more importantly, on my point of view, that around about last year with the smokescreen of COVID, it's obviously becoming this is just a distraction, and they're providing people with the distractions, be it whatever side of the coin they flipped on for how they reacted to the problem, be it for or against the lockdown. Those sides of the argument are being controlled and given a narrative in all the propaganda to keep them busy and occupied. I started looking behind the smokescreen to see other news reports, and lo and behold, I started noticing the UFO sightings rising, and look where we are in terms of the alien agenda. But also I started finding merely by chance that the symptoms of electromagnetic frequency are very, very identical to, I was going to say very similar, but they are in fact identical to the symptoms of COVID-19. Now, given the fact that we all carry cellular devices, we have tablets, we have computers, we have smart technology, that can emit frequencies that can create the exact same symptoms of a virus that they're saying is the reason we have to be locked out. It makes me think, have they released poisonous pathogens that are mutating into different sorts of variant strains that they can't control, or could they transmit it electronically? My thoughts are the electronic route would be the safer, more cleaner way to go if you had the technology to do so. My goodness, we've got a whole bunch of people watching right now. Welcome, Ruth. Totally paying new attention to New Brunswick. Now, again, why this is also very, very much important, because very similar again to the narrative from the alien agenda, where we've got government officials and mainstream like, yeah, you know, there really is stuff we can't explain. This technology is nothing we've got. It's very similar with certainly the Havana syndrome, because they are acknowledging the fact that this technology exists. Now, this technology is being alleged been used on government officials in the United States. Here in Canada, it does seem to be a sort of random generic 18 to 84-year-old general population. Are they the lab rats, the canaries in the cave, or the canaries in the coal mine rather, that are very, very unaware of the fact that they are test experiments, and they've been bombarded with this frequency out there in Moncton, I think the town is that many of them are. The victims are from, and is Moncton a little bit like Montauk, where they sort of have a very small population that are sort of essentially lab rats for the secret laboratory there that is carrying out all this clandestine, nefarious experimentation on ways to manipulate and control the masses. So again, this sort of is becoming something that is a threat to security, and if it is a threat to national security of government officials, then it's a threat to you and I. And who are they going to be pointing the fingers at the moment? Obviously the Russians and Chinese, but bear in mind we've got the alien agenda with all this technology that the government are saying that they cannot explain, or they have no, technology that matches it here on Earth. It's a very similar narrative with what they're saying is causing the effects of Havana syndrome and the New Brunswick syndrome. Could this technology be the result of, or could it be playing in part and parcel with the alien agenda? Could these UFOs that be sighted and reported all around the world right now be using this technology? I'm not saying they are, because it's all earthbound technology being used as a false flag psyop. Now we've got Canada and we've got North America, two of the largest countries in the world, that are saying that it has citizens and officials that have been affected by this. And just earlier today, I rerun the Reality Decoded 1985 4-hour and 20 minutes special channel surfing, and most of that was generated around some documentaries and special reports from CNN and the Discovery Channel in 1985. talking about just this. And some of those guys, some of those reports, they were interviewing people from the Department of Defense and experts in the field. And this was sort of at a time when CNN wasn't as controlled or crisis acted or propagandized as it is today. It was a little bit more legit back then. But back in 1985 and in the 80s, a couple of these guys said, you know what, all the technology exists that could give the government the ability to control the actions and thoughts of every single person in the United States. And this was in a time when really we sort of were at the dawn of the digital age, where satellite TV was brand new, digital technology, video games, VHS, Betamax, digital watches, digital clocks. We brought all of this shit into our household, and all of this shit emits the frequencies. And as I said, this is something that I noticed last year. In the last year, I've got a whole shitload of content on electromagnetic frequency weapon, mind control, MK Ultra. All of this stuff is being used against us right now with the Monarch program in MK Ultra. They've methodized that and formulated it into social media feeds, and then you've got your own little AI handler that sits in your phone unseen, that collects all your data and knows how to create the exact things you need to see to react in the way that they want you to. Given that they also have these frequency weapons that can also control your thoughts, action, and behavior, what chance do we really have? Now, don't take my word of it. As I've always said, make of it what you will. And part of why I present these information to you is to give you as much information as you need to be able to formulate your own thoughts and opinions, because this is shit that is being erased from us. And if they can stop us thinking and stop us reading and stop us looking for information, they don't need to erase it. And this is why society is being dumbed down so much, to the point that they haven't even got time to read a meme. And if there's anything that they can't read in the time it takes them to take a dump, then they're not interested. And really and truly, guys, that is where most people get their information or take their information in, is when they take a shit, because that is one of the few times that they're sort of not truly distracted by everything around them. But that being said, most of us aren't distracted, because a lot of people are plugged in, and this is how the control works. And this is why during the lockdown period they want us 6 feet apart, because your little cellular device can create a little bubble of electromagnetic frequency that can either make you feel good or feel anxious, unhappy, can do all sorts of things, make you piss your pants, make you sweat, give you a headache, maybe give you migraine symptoms, even cause you to have a heart attack. And you can have your little bubble, and if you sort of entwine with too many people, then maybe the frequencies will merge and your programming will get fucked up. But that's just my theory. Again, don't take of it what make of it what you will. Don't take my word for it. But anyway, let's have a little chat what some of you guys are saying. Welcome, Murphy. When did you sneak in? We've got little Anika. Glad we found you, darling. I was just chatting about you the other day, saying that we seem to have lost a few people since TSP TV got shut down. Actually, I can look on my computer. It's almost weird looking at so many unfamiliar names. Yeah, Prepper Chit, we've got some more Texans. You'll be pleased to know the Texan connection is very strong in the reality crew, as I'm now calling the Thrift Fam. Did Elle just sneak in? I seen somebody said hello to her. If you are here, Elle, welcome, darling. And again, my extended thanks for your continued support in sending so many wonderful, cool folks. You look like a pirate fur. My focus is so much. I need some funny release. Well, we do try to give a little bit of humor and satirical relief to the proceedings here, but sometimes we do look at some dark and disturbing topics as well, some sort of fun and interesting ones as well. But at the minute, we do need to sort of pay attention of all this sort of narrative and stuff that is now being introduced to mainstream, and they do seem to want us to know about this Savannah syndrome and what they are calling New Brunswick. Sorry, I was just reading a comment there. The New Brunswick syndrome. Many died in 1918 when radio went full on. Yeah, also something I mentioned a little while ago, and I sort of like in the States, sort of radio stations. Welcome to WBN 647. And I often wondered if like the WBNs and all those sort of known, they were sort of weapon signages, you know, like sort of in Star Wars you had Red 5, Red 6, and maybe, you know, these were all sort of targeted little areas where they could sort of record the data and stuff. Mad cow disease for humans. Well, oh my goodness, that's another discussion that we might include in. I'm halfway through Soylent Green Decoded. I'm going to do a definitive Soylent Green, because again, that's something that I've been talking about for at least fucking 3 years now, that this is a warning to society. We're heading towards a Soylent Green society. But short answer is mad cow disease in the United Kingdom, I believe, was an experimentation of feeding livestock its own kind, like, and turned cows into cannibals. And the results of cannibalism over a long, prolonged time are your body basically will not be able to differentiate between food and yourself, and you will end up starting to digest yourself, and the body will digest the strongest forms of protein. The first one is the brain, which is what was happening to the cows, which went a little bit like this. So HEK293, go look up that food additive coloring, human embryonic kidney. So introducing a cannibalistic diet to humans eventually will start eating away at the brain. But Soylent Green Decoded, we'll talk a lot more about that. But anyway, let's go and get our presentation for this evening up and running for you. Good news, guys, is it isn't a 3 or 4 hour long stream. The bad news is it is around 2 hours, but hopefully you'll find it a little bit interesting and informative. So I'm going to turn off the camera, the mic, and join you in chat. But before I do, content disclaimer: YouTube algorithm, please pay attention. This is fair use. I'm using any copyrighted material for educational and informative purposes only, and feel free on my blessing to monetize and stick ads in this video for any of the copyright holders that are contained, and I have no quibbles of you doing that whatsoever. I am a loss-for-profit non-organization that makes presentations for maybe 12 people that do tune in regularly. That being said, guys, sit back, relax, smoke if you've got them, go and take a quick pee if you want. You've got 30 seconds before the interesting stuff starts to kick in. So I'll see you in chat, and as I said, here we go with this evening's presentation.
Public health officials in Canada are closely monitoring a mysterious brain disease that has emerged out of New Brunswick. Now, it's not known what is causing the disorder or where it even came from. Yet a cluster of more than 40 cases have already been confirmed in the Atlantic province. 5 people, sadly, have died. So for a closer look, we're joined by Dr. Alier Marrero, a neurologist at Moncton's Georges L. Dumont University Hospital Center. Dr. Marrero is also heading a research group on the subject. Doctor, welcome to the program. Obviously, a lot of questions here, a lot we do not know, but let's begin with what we do know about this disease.
We do know that the cluster mostly started in 2018, and we've identified a single case back in 2015, but it's growing, and it's certainly clustered around some areas of the province. After detailed analysis, we have come up with the main hypothesis that is coming to some, or linked to some environmental factor that is toxic. Initially, the patients were referred to the national CJD surveillance system because they share symptoms that look like Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. But after we have investigated these patients in detail and with many collaborators, we've come up with no evidence of prion disease in them or Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, but they do have a progressive neurodegenerative syndrome that is yet to be determined where it comes from. So large groups of researchers, including myself, as well as environmental health, animal health, are working on this, trying to figure out where it's coming from and whether or not we have more cases. So far, since 2018, the number of cases has been growing.
Is it affecting people in a small geographical area, or is it spread out through the province?
So far, we don't have evidence it's spread out to the province. We do have clusters, and we are now having a centralized clinic called the Mind Clinic I'm leading here that would be receiving referrals from areas, and we have a better idea of the actual extension of the problem in these areas, and also what environmental factors might be linked to this that we believe it is a neurotoxin.
I mean, talk about the effects on these individuals. 5 people have died. We know there are more than 40 cases. Are you looking at others right now to determine if there's a link and other people coming forward with similar symptoms?
Yes, and unfortunately, we have seen more referrals, and also our patients are from any adult age, so it's not limited to elderly patients. Unfortunately, we don't know yet where it's coming from. We're working very hard to figure out the origin and also to figure out a way of treating these patients and avoiding other patients from acquiring this condition.
So when it comes to the environmental link, that is the hypothesis. Is this man-made? Is this nature? What are we looking at?
We don't know yet, so we keep all possibilities open. We believe it might be nature, but we don't know. We're testing the environmental sources related to these populations and each one of the patients, their past history, travel history, professional history, exposures, water sources, food sources, etc. So it is a large investigation that would require a lot of effort, but we're collectively doing that with the help of Public Health Ottawa and New Brunswick and many expert teams. But the clinical aspect is essential into determining what patient has criteria for this condition.
But obviously, time is of the essence, and we appreciate you joining us on this very, difficult story to understand. We appreciate all the work that you are doing to try to find answers to this. Best of luck to you, Dr. Alia Marrero, a neurologist in New Brunswick. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, Anthony, and thanks for your interest in this news.
Well, while most of Canada is focused on COVID-19, a mysterious brain disease has surfaced in parts of New Brunswick. So far, 47 cases have been identified, 6 of them being fatal. An investigation is underway, but what have we learned so far? Joining us this morning is the neurologist who's leading the New Brunswick research team, Dr. Alia Marrero. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
Some people might just be hearing about this for the first time. What do we know about the symptoms of this disease?
The symptoms of this disease initially referred to something that looks like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. So it's a very rare condition called prion disease, where people develop a neurodegenerative disorder that ends up in affecting many systems, including cognitive, so provoking dementia, but also other signs and symptoms. In our case, the patients are a little bit different. First of all, they are younger, or at least they are of any age, from 18 to 86. They do develop initially behavioral changes that could be non-specific. That includes sleep disorders, either mostly insomnia or not sleeping well or sleeping too much, and also problems with memory, coordination, orientation. Then they develop sometimes hallucinations, mostly visual hallucinations, as well as occasionally auditory and tactile hallucinations, as well as muscle atrophy, trouble with coordination, and involuntary movements we call myoclonus, which is like muscle jerks that cannot be controlled. They usually appear initially during the nighttime, and they evolve towards being very frequent and very prevalent in the few patients that we have seen up to the end. Unfortunately, the myoclonus persists right until the end stages. Some patients also develop at some point very severe ataxia, trouble with balance, walking, they fall. So that's sometimes the reason why they are referred to us in evaluation.
Right.
They also develop sometimes frightening nightmares and some of those hallucinations for which they initially keep an insight become part of their reality. So they react to them, and as you can imagine, that prompt more aggressivity. Yes?
You've set up a clinic now specifically to study this. You've been trying to pinpoint a source. What possibilities have you narrowed this list down to? Because people are afraid.
Yes, we have been, first of all, we identified a first single case in 2015. And at the time, obviously, an isolated case doesn't make a syndrome. And after that, in 2018, we have seen increasing numbers of cases referred. And now, as we have this clinic, we have many more referrals. Our extensive investigation in collaboration with the National CJD surveillance systems and other experts in the country in environmental health, epidemiology, toxicology, animal health, show that this is environmentally acquired, or at least an acquired condition. It is not a genetically linked condition. Patients seem to be clustered around some areas, not everywhere. So our leading hypothesis is a neurotoxin acquired in the environment that has not been around all the time, or not forever, because this is a recent issue. This condition is sprouting since 2018. Many areas of those in those pathways are being investigated, including, for instance, cyanobacteria, toxic forms of amino acids, other environmental toxins, and maybe rare infections. But we keep our mind open to possibilities at this time, as we don't have yet common causality identified.
Wow. So challenging, because you're trying to sort of diagnose but research at the same time. The cases so far, we've mentioned there's 47. They've been found in clusters, both in Moncton and the Acadian Peninsula. You've now expanded your research to see if this disease maybe exists in other provinces or countries. What are some of the theories around how it spreads? Because people hear that it can be acquired, they hear environmental possibilities, and they're worried about where they might catch it.
Absolutely. So, right, that's the reason why our public health in New Brunswick has created a referral system, so that we can capture the number of cases that we actually have in the whole province. But also, we have been in communication with neighboring jurisdictions and other provinces in order to raise awareness about the characteristics of our patients, and also the test results that we obtain, so that if they see similar patients, we can probably identify also common factors in those areas. We're talking about particularly neighboring Quebec, Nova Scotia, PEI, for instance, and as well as the state of Maine in the US. But so far, we started the investigation here, and we're trying to gather the whole picture of what is happening in New Brunswick, with more exact locations and exact number of cases that we might have.
Dr. Marrero, I want to thank you for coming on Your Morning. It is a fascinating story, and one that we haven't had a chance to focus on because we've been so focused on COVID-19. Thank you so much for your research and your time this morning.
Thanks for your interest in our patients. This is a compelling disease. This is hard to see for the families, for the patients, for the doctors. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Reality Decoded, and thank you once again for choosing to tune in to this latest installment of Shit Video Productions. And this evening's title is Canadian Brain Syndrome, and we are going to look at some recent mainstream articles concerning a very mysterious brain syndrome that is being reported here in Canada. But before I do go on, I do need to thank new viewer who I believe it was 49 who alerted my attention and drew me to this in a recent stream yesterday night at time of recording. All Out Apocalypse Part 2 is available for your viewing pleasure, informative and educational purposes on my channel, but they drew my attention to this, and I'm very, very glad that the 49 did, because this does fall very much in conjunction and correlation with an upload from a couple of weeks ago on my channel, Havana Syndrome, which is a sort of another upload in a growing playlist of mind control and frequency radio wave electromagnetic weaponry technology that I have been providing an awful lot of thought, opinion and information on. And as I said, it seems that this side of the border we have our very own Canadian equivalent of the Havana Syndrome, that we could even call New Brunswick Syndrome, because that seems to be where it is isolated and maybe even targeted to the location. We've yet to hear reports of people suffering from this mysterious brain syndrome anywhere else in Canada, although I've sort of only just started to scratch the surface on this, although you don't really need to scratch the surface because there does seem to be a little bit of a mainstream saturation on this subject. And why this is so very, very alarming, because all of a sudden the stuff of the realms of tin foil hack conspiracy theorists that live in their basement with sort of drawing boards with pictures and strings tacked together trying to link all the dots, it's now being kind of considered an actual threat to the societal mental health and a national threat to security. Certainly that is the case south of the border, where it does seem to be that primarily governmental officials seem to be the victim of this, and the United States government has actually signed off a bill to offer relief for victims of Havana syndrome if Canada follows suit and offers relief to these individuals that are suffering from the similar symptoms here in New Brunswick or not, who knows. But the media and the governments are acknowledging the fact that there is a technology out there that can be identified that is causing possible brain damage and neural damage to individuals that become victims and susceptible to this. And it's very, very bizarre with all these experts coming on to these mainstream outlets and giving advice and thought and opinion on this subject. None of them seems to draw any attention to the fact there is an awful lot of technology out there that is designed to cause those exact symptoms. So we're here at Bold Sky with the first article. We're going to kind of look at a couple of articles from the recent weeks that are making the rounds on mainstream, as well as some other very important information regarding this subject. But the technology in EMF in radio frequency, this is something I've been talking about for a very, very long time, and something I believe is affecting more people than we realize, if not all people on the planet Earth, certainly those that live within highly populated dense urban areas where there are nothing but towers upon towers and frequency upon frequency. There's a very, very good chance that you have been blasted with this radiation, and myself have experienced and spoken of symptoms related that are very, very similar to what they are saying are the result of sensitivity to frequency radiation. But as I said, let's look at this first article, which is pretty much borrowing from the same script as the mainstream reports we just saw. But according to reports, it says 48 people from the same province in Canada were admitted to hospitals with a mysterious case of brain syndrome. Interesting choice of words. But the report comes amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, the COVID mist is the smokescreen that is keeping society from seeing what is really going on, and is keeping us occupied and active with various provided propagandas that we can share and agree with. And the great awakening is exactly that. It's a fake awakening where they are sort of, I do believe that the COVID was so very transparent to sort of draw out some kind of dissident anti-governmental types into the light in public, and maybe when the sheep believe themselves to be wolves, the flock will lead themselves to slaughter. I will leave you at that. But amongst the pandemic, there is another report that is causing panic, and that is this brain syndrome. And the hospitalized people have reported symptoms like insomnia, limb dysfunction, and even hallucinations. Insomnia, limb dysfunction, or maybe sort of limb aches and pains more than dysfunction is something I have experienced, as well as some other symptoms that you could assign to that of electromagnetic frequency radiation sensitivity. But as per the New York Times, and we did feature the New York Times in the Havana syndrome, they do seem to be one of the mainstream propaganda leaders when it comes to matters of this. People with this mysterious disease are all from New Brunswick, which is located on the Atlantic coast. And the syndrome stroke disease was first observed in 2015. Some reports say as early as 2013. And again, this kind of also falls in with the same sort of timeline is the first reports of these American governmental types that reported what is being referred to as Havana syndrome. But Dr. Alan Alaire Morero saw a patient who showed a combination of symptoms including depression, rapidly progressive dementia, and muscle pains. Again, muscle pains are something that I fear and I experience rather and seem to get very much when the sort of weather is overcast and damp, which is something that does sort of cause sort of arthritic type conditions. But could the damp in overcast weather be the result of geoengineering, where they are saturating the world with all kinds of toxins and pollutions to destroy our natural environment? But as of 29th of April 2021, 48 cases along with 6 deaths have been reported through the GNB, the Greater New Brunswick province, I believe that is. And it noted that the deaths, in some cases, additional information is needed to determine the cause of death as a result of this disease or syndrome. And look, there's a nice little decal in the bottom right corner spinning around just to keep reminding you that corona is there. But this mysterious brain syndrome in Canada, what we know so far is when the news of this illness began making rounds, there were several explanations as to why and how this was happening. And guess what? Conspiracy theories too were part of it. And the mysterious brain syndrome has baffled Canada's medical agencies and has caught the attention of some of the world's top neurologists and fanned fears among the New Brunswick residents. In fanning fears, FF, false flag, guys, there for you. Fanning the fears, fear porn. Fear is a great controller, and again, if you could control the fear and then control the minds of those that you're scaring with your fear porn, what better way to keep people in check and in line? And there is a decal of a brain being bombarded by frequencies, and the sort of network that you see there does exist on a sort of street level, an aerial level, and a sort of outer space level, if you want to believe that. Elon Musk, all of his SpaceX satellites, this is what they're doing, creating a network around the globe, and it is supposedly to provide everyone with speedy and fast access to the internet. If not, it is a electromagnetic force field web deflector system for incoming objects. Not who knows. Remember, in some not super sci-fi series, some spaceships in sort of futuristic space technology do seem to have force fields and shield generators. Star Wars for one example. But it says in that little decal, Canada hit by mysterious brain disease. I wonder what would happen if we put mysterious brain disease in an anagram generator. Maybe something we might do even before the end of this episode is done. But below are the available data on this mysterious brain syndrome. And again, noticed how they keep repeating mysterious brain syndrome. And the easiest and fastest form of brainwashing is repetition. But scientists have claimed that this disease is spreading through the radiation of mobile phone towers. And it's not just mobile phone towers, because those mobile phone towers send direct frequencies in signals to your mobile phone, which if the frequencies are coming from the towers, then they're also going to be coming from our phones. And bear in mind, guys, we all carry around a phone with us in close proximity. Some of us keep it in our back pocket. Some of us keep it in our handbag. There are even women who stick it down between the middle of their boobs and use their cleavage as a cradle for their cellular technology that is emitting electromagnetic radiation. So it's not just the mobile towers, and partly why I believe that they do want to separate it and remain in 6 feet apart is because the cell phone that we carry with us can then sort of radiate a little, maybe 5-foot bubble of electromagnetic frequencies that can personalize and target our own individual program or maybe symptoms similar to these poor individuals out in New Brunswick. But don't take my own word for it. That is just my thoughts and opinions. If or not you have any of your own or share and agree those, it would be great to hear. But some experts, it goes on to say, have said that the symptoms are side effect of the COVID-19 vaccine. And guys, I do believe that word there, the vax, is a divide and conquer tactic. It is getting people distracted and involved with argumentative issues, and the spread of mimetic propaganda on social media is provided courtesy of the deep state. Is the problem reaction solution only works if the reaction is a twofold one, those that are pro and those that are against it. And it does seem to me that the sort of great awakening and the sort of anti-lockdown movement are the victims of controlled opposition, and they may even be the victims of electromagnetic mind control. But some experts have said it was, as we said, from the vaccine. But back in 2015, Canada had reports of the same issue where several people were hospitalized, and out of which 6 had died. This news of the syndrome was exposed when a memo about it by New Brunswick Chief Medical Officer was leaked to the press in March 4th. And remember, guys, I tell you many times, nothing leaks that wasn't meant to, and nobody blows whistles that weren't meant to be heard. This is them letting us know about this. They want us to know about it, and that's why it leaks. That's why the whistle's blown. And this is why now we are seeing such a fluctuation on mainstream outlets regarding these syndromes, although they are not atoning it to electromagnetic frequencies and radio waves, and certainly would rather you didn't believe that your phone could be targeting you and bombarding you with mind control frequencies. But preliminary data shows that the disease is not genetic, and it could be controlled from water, food, or air. Again, no mention of frequencies. But what are the symptoms of this mysterious brain syndrome in Canada? And as per the latest updates, the following are what we know about the symptoms of the condition, and they are similar to those of, crude, I can't read that word, CJD and other prion diseases. That's what they said. Prison then. My eyes have gone a little bit blurry. But such as rapidly developing dementia, difficulty walking, and changes in gait, hallucination, muscle stiffness, confusion, fatigue, and difficulty speaking. Pretty much all of those. I don't even know if I am developing dementia, but dementia does run in my family. My dear old grandmother, bless her soul, wherever she may be. This is for you, Nana. Bet you. She suffered from dementia, as did my great-grandmother. It's only certain that it will be hitting me. And difficulty walking, pains in stiffness in legs is something I experienced as well, sort of heart palpitations, pounding headaches on primarily the left side of my head, and sometimes it feels like my right side of my face is someone's pushed a balloon between the skin and skull and is blowing it up, and my eye will squeak quite loudly. But other possibilities that they are saying could include an environmental toxin similar to dominic acid, which caused the Canadian amnesiac shellfish poisoning in 1987, and the reported symptoms as per the list published on the 25th of April are rapidly progressing dementia, unexplained and significant weight loss, monoclonus, changes in behavior, sleep disturbances, unexpected pain, visual hallucinations, sort of repeating again. Mind control is most effective delivery system is through the series of repetition. But again, sleep behavior disturbances is something I experienced this weekend, Friday night, after I did a stream all about this topic. Funny enough, we did the thought control, where we did look at a lot of technology and patents and such forth regarding my electromagnetic mind control and brainwashing technology. I didn't sleep at all well, and I've also had sort of an awful lot of sort of mood swings when the sun shines out and the weather is warm. I sort of, I'm not hopping, skipping and farting whip zippity doodah out of my asshole, but I'm certainly a lot better and happier than when it is grey and miserable, where I sort of feel as though I don't necessarily want to wake up or even get out of bed. And I've even, I'm not going to lie and do sort of almost feel ashamed to confess, don't go phoning helplines or anything, but one of two times thinking it probably might be better if I didn't wake up. Let's just leave it at that. But in some cases, Capgras delusion, and another word I'm having difficulties reading, so you'll have to read that one for yourself, have been reported. A kinetic, again, all these words are very difficult for me. Excuse me, I'm not uneducated, I'm just a little bit dyslexic. You don't know if you could be a little bit or a lot dyslexic, but some words I can read them if they were phonetically. But a kinetic, is that how you're saying? Mutism was observed in late stage patients where they no longer have the ability to speak or move. And again, in that recent thought control uploaded, I put out on Friday night, which at time of recording, which was 3 days ago, we featured an individual by the name of Olivia who had I don't know if it was dementia or autism or something along those lines, and they were testing on her with some brain waves, and they removed her ability to count down from 10 to 0. But the majority experience multi-day insomnia, even under medication. And that is something that happened to me just recently, within the last couple of months. I had some sort of sleepless nights, and in my mind, then again, was this implanted in my mind, I thought, you know what, let's just go out and get a box of sleeping pills that you can get from over the counter and go and take a handful and knock myself out. And I went and did exactly that, took a handful of sleeping pills, which is something I actually was dependent on for almost 20 years due to shift work and service industry hours, but I have been free of all sort of over the counter and sort of pharmaceutical narcotics, let's call them what they are, for over a year now, and I have sort of had experience of over self-medication in the past, for want of better words, but as I said, I did go out very recently, bought a whole box of sleeping pills, took a handful of them, which I used to have a great tolerance for, and after taking literally the entire box, I still didn't sleep, and it fucked me up for a few days, as I did inadvertently, I guess, overdose on the over-the-counter, not to the fatal extent, and it wasn't even sort of a attempt to overdose, it was an attempt to sleep. But I can vouch that I've had insomnia, and I did take over-the-counter medication to help me sleep that was ineffective. And was that because the frequencies were pumped up to do so? But on the 27th of April, more symptoms such as memory problems, muscle spasms, balance issues, difficulty walking, or falls, blurred vision or visual hallucinations, unexplained or significant weight loss, behavioral changes, and pain in the upper and lower limbs were also added. Something else I've also mentioned and did mention recently in that thought control spree was Pokemon Go. How many of these individuals that had their headphones plugged in, looking at their screen, chasing pixelated Pokemon creatures in an augmented reality, were actually sort of victims of death or injury, not because they were unaware or because maybe Pokemon Go was in fact an experimentation in using this technology and seeing if they could maybe influence people, not only to maybe walk in front of oncoming trains or traffic, but maybe sort of remote control-y, direct them into that stuff. Not saying it is, I'm just hypothesizing, and that is a theory I do actually believe it is probably a lot more truer than we would care to probably imagine. But certainly there was a lot of stuff going on there. I do believe that was very much a human experimentation. That was a multifold experiment to test remote controlled humans experience augmented reality, and as I said, could they be using it as a disguise and a cover screen to affect the minds of the individuals playing that game with frequency, to see how many they could direct, control, or put suicidal thoughts into their brains. And of course, once they're gone, we will never be able to hear their answers or reasons. Sorry, I went a bit further there, though. So those things have been added to the list, and Canadian health experts have mentioned that the disease affects men and women equally and all age groups. Was named neurological syndrome of unknown etiology in New Brunswick. When the reports in 2015 of the health issues began to surface, the patients ranged from 18 to 84. Thereby showing that the health issue is not targeted by a specific age group, but it could be targeted to a specific individual according on maybe your thoughts and opinions you share with your cellular technology, that of course has an artificially intelligent algorithm that then shares that to the highest bidder, that will then use that information and data against you to target you, mostly with advertising and secondly propaganda that many of you will be inadvertently sharing and agreeing and copying and pasting and becoming a pawn in the deep state's propaganda spreading mechanism. But as doctors were unable to diagnose any health problem in the hospitalized patients, one of the experts who had the patients with the case gave the disease a prosaic working name, and it was referred to then as the neurological syndrome of unknown etiology in New Brunswick, NSUANB. Help me out, see if you can figure out if there's anything behind that acronym, NBNSUC. And the first case displayed symptoms as early as 2013, but blue and green algae are to be investigated as a possible cause. Again, let's blame environmental things for it when really it's electrical, and this is the misdirection, misinformation tactic at play, and the smoke and mirrors. And again, magicians use misdirection tactics so that you don't see the illusion in front of your eyes, and this is exactly what the deep state borrow from when they deliver your propaganda on mainstream platforms such as this. But the disease was being investigated in New Brunswick by Moncton, and Moncton's an interesting place. There was a shoot in there that was very, very strange and mysterious in itself, and I believe sort of Moncton might even be a little bit similar to Montauk. Not if I'm certain about that, because maybe they sound different, but I'm pretty sure there's some strange stuff that's gone on in Moncton which might be in correlation to this frequency bombardment that these people out in New Brunswick are experiencing. Another word, Canna-bacteria, a bacteria blamed in previous years for killing dogs that consumed it, will be investigated as a potential cause of the mystery neurological brain syndrome, also known as blue-green algae. The bacteria are commonly found toxin in the area, and the researchers have begun looking in to see whether there is any direct link between the two. So those are two environmental toxins that can present with these sorts of syndromes, and they are on the list to be studied to determine if there has been exposure to these two toxins in New Brunswick. And that was said by a doctor named Neil Casham, not Canham, Casham, and he is a professor in the University of British Columbia's Facility of Medicine, who is helping investigate this illness. Reports said that amidst the COVID pandemic, the health organization in Canada were overwhelmed, and they failed to pay any attention to to the rising number of this mysterious brain syndrome. And of course they were overwhelmed. They were so overwhelmed, many of them had time to find in their daily overwhelmedness to go and choreograph dance routines that they then uploaded and shared on TikTok. And some of the videos that I have had removed, I did go to the Toronto hospitals in close and a little bit of the downtown proximity and recorded all of them absolutely empty. But unfortunately some of those videos have been removed. But on a final note, the article finishes up by saying, currently, more studies are being carried out by experts all over the globe to assess the seriousness and, more importantly, the cause of this mysterious brain syndrome. And experts had also said that it can seem like a new illness. It sometimes turns out to be a known disease that has not been diagnosed. That's not a lie if you believe it. That's what the mainstream's saying about it. And as I said, not a single mention about frequency radiation poisoning. And who exactly are these experts? I'm not an expert. I'm just a fucking stoner in a basement that's got an access to the internet. And I found out an awful lot of information, technology, and patents for things that can cause the syndrome, the exact symptoms of this syndrome, be it the New Brunswick syndrome or the Havana syndrome. It is an effect of what I believe electromagnetic frequencies. And if a fucking stoner in a Canadian basement can find this information, then why the fuck can't these so-called experts find this and mention it in their mainstream reports? Why? Because they don't want you to know that. They want you to think it's blue and green algae. But stay tuned, guys, because this stream will continue. We've got some more interesting stuff and a couple more videos for you to see, and we might even throw in a pattern that will probably open your eyes and maybe frighten the living shit out of you. I hope it doesn't, but you do need to be made aware of some of the nefarious technologies that are not designed for your entertainment purposes. The dual technology is designed to control the way you think, act, and behave. But as I said, guys, stay tuned. A lot more to come. So we are going to look at one more recent article from a mainstream outlet, this time RT News, regarding this mysterious brain disease stroke syndrome affecting the residents of primarily New Brunswick, it would seem. We will check out a search result just to sort of demonstrate how many articles are on there, but we're not going to go and read too many of them because pretty much they are all reading from the same script. But as we do scroll down, there is a picture of a scientist, or a dramatization of someone playing the part of a scientist trying to research something. But it says, it starts out by saying, a fresh outbreak of a mysterious illness has been making the headlines in Canada, and a neurological disease dubbed the New Brunswick syndrome has affected dozens and killed 6 people in recent months in the region that gave it its name. Now, at least 48 people, yada yada, whoop de woo, ray tay tay, from the same script, 18 to 85, have been suffering from this, mostly men and women of equal proportions, and they have been suffering from the inexplicable illness. It could be explained if people did pay a little bit more attention or had some more awareness of the effects of frequency technology stroke weaponry that can do that can cause the symptoms that these individuals are experiencing. In fact, they can cause the exact symptoms that these individuals are experiencing. We will look at that a little bit shortly. But the visual, auditory hallucinations, memory loss, difficulty walking, balance issues are among the symptoms of the mysterious condition, which is reported to have killed 6 patients. And there's a read more article which we might just well do, because Department of State 2201 C Street NW, an ex-ambassador, has been appointed to lead a Havana syndrome task force as CIA expands inquiry into mysterious brain injuries. It's all hand in glove. It's all in conjunction with one another. And when CIA and alphabet agencies are setting up task forces to look into this this mysterious syndrome, well, it's not so mysterious if you want to believe what I'm telling you is the cause of these. And again, by no means do make up your own minds. I'm just sharing information for your own educational and informative purposes, and the reason to do so is so you can formulate your own opinions and thoughts on the matter. And as I said, I do provide an awful lot of information to possibly back up and support my thoughts and opinions and theories on this, so we will come back to that. But this week the government of the mainly affected New Brunswick province, which is on the Atlantic coast, stepped up with its efforts to deal with the outbreak, which had until recently been overshadowed by the COVIDian mist. And an expert committee has been set up to expedite the investigation into what is being referred to as the New Brunswick Cluster of Neurological Syndrome of Uncles. They've all got different names for it, although they are reading from the same script. And the discovery of a potentially new and unknown syndrome is scary. The Health Minister, Dorothy Shepherd, herding the sheep to the mainstream news narrative of what they are calling a mysterious brain syndrome. But the locals have been concerned about the new disease, again CC33 being used there. But while people in the province have been suffering from an alarming symptoms that appear to stem from the same unknown brain damaging illness for the past few years, and very similar symptoms to those that are suffering from what has been called Havana syndrome. So we've got Havana and New Brunswick, which both seem to be exactly the same thing, different strains of the same symptoms, I guess, but no certain cause has yet to be identified, and health officials have been looking into potential environmental and animal exposure, but uncertainty prevails. Again, just do a little search bar into search result. Goodness, why can't I get that out? Maybe they're fucking zapping me right now and disabling my ability to speak. But if they put symptoms of electromagnetic frequency radiation in the search bar, they would find some results similar to the ones I can bring you shortly. But at this point in time, we don't know everything that is on the table, and we're going to look at every possibility, and hopefully we will develop a good understanding. One of the committee co-chairs, Dr. Edward Hendricks, said that the other is Dr. Natalie Banville, and she admitted no advice can be given to the people as to how or whether they can protect themselves from the disease, as experts haven't determined its derivation. And there's a picture, I think, of New Brunswick, and look, stop, don't go beyond these lines. What is that picture all about? First Nation Brunswick in Canada. All right, that's just a picture from New Brunswick, nothing to do with this syndrome. But we are researching, and we have no environmental causes, we have no genetic causes, we have no medication causes, we have no cause established at all, says Banville, who is a doctor and one of the experts on this committee. And all possibilities are being studied, except for what seems to be the study or possibility that it is being caused by electromagnetic frequency, and they are including a contamination through toxins, a bacteria, or a virus. And to try to figure out the mystery, an extensive questionnaire has been drafted by health officials aimed at both patients and their families. It can take up to 4 hours to complete, and a special clinic to diagnose and treat suspected patients has also been opened. So they are taking this seriously, and they are going out of their way. say, and how many people might start developing psychosomatic results as a result of this. And again, that could be the case with the COVIDian scam that many people heard in were repeated over and over and over and over again, the symptoms of that alleged virus. And sometimes you hear it enough, you begin to believe it's not a lie if you believe it. And of course, this will have a psychosomatic effect on many people. But that is the end of that article. As I said, not really telling us anything we don't know, but it is just to sort of demonstrate that they are reading from the same script. So let's click on this about the ambassador being appointed to the Havana Syndrome task force. As we know, an ex-ambassador has been appointed, and that is the same photo. So US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has appointed a former ambassador to run a task force investigating the so-called Havana Syndrome. And again, there is a video up on my channel titled Havana Syndrome that you can also watch that is very similar to the content here, and I do believe, as I say, they are in coalition and running in conjunction the same narrative but a different packaging, so to speak. Havana New Brunswick syndrome, it is only just a different geographic name that separates the two really and truly, but it has been experienced, as we know, by US diplomats and spies, and the media have blamed so-called sci-fi microwave weapons. So they've blamed microwave weapons in the United States, not so much here in Canada. Maybe that will be soon to develop, as Canada has its own task force, and I like how they put the sort of sci-fi to make it look unbelievable. But they're not microwave weapons, they're electromagnetic weapons. And again, this is what the tin foil hat conspiracy theorist stereotype stems from, that it was led to believe that we thought we were being bombarded by frequency by our government that altered the way we thought and behaved and acted. And this was sort of around the time that people started questioning the Kennedy assassination. So fueled and guided by the Tavistock Institute, CIA can come up and coined the phrase tin foil hat conspiracy theorist, which many of us have been labeled with ever since. I like to consider myself a realist. I like to, as I said, this is why this channel is Reality Decoded, and I try to look at the real aspects of what is going on and try and decipher and decode that for myself and share my opinions with you guys, as well as the information that I do contain within these shit video production presentations that some of you do tune into regularly. But a senior advisor to the Health Incident Response Task Force established in 2018 to deal with long-term brain injuries allegedly suffered by State Department and CIA personnel in Cuba and China, and she will report directly to Blinken and senior State Department leadership. Foggy Bottom announced on, is that somebody's real name? Foggy Bottom? That doesn't even, it sounds like something from a cartoon series of a character with flatulence issues. But that was mentioned on Friday, and there's a tweet, I guess, or a screenshot of a tweet from Jennifer Hansler, informing folks that a state ambassador has been appointed as the leader of a task force. And right now they're saying we have no higher priority than the health and safety of our people, and Ambassador Spartland will help us address this issue, whether it affects department personnel and their families. Blinken said in a statement, we have no higher priority. So this is more of a priority than people being affected by what may or may not be the COVIDian virus. And bear in mind, guys, that the symptoms to COVID-19 are also absolutely identical to the symptoms of electromagnetic frequency. Something I told you about last year in an upload entitled Electromagnetic Frequency Mind Control. You can go and watch that over at TSP TV. But back to this stream. Spartland's appointment is part of the Biden administration's whole of government approach to the alleged attack, as investigations into the matter so far have been conducted separately by a number of agencies, from the State Department and the CIA to the FBI and the Center of Disease Control, the good old CDC. The Korea Foreign Service official speaks Russian, French, and Spanish. I'm sure that will help them get into the bottom of this mystery. And served as the U.S. ambassador to Kyrgyzstan. Never even heard of that stan. And then Uzbekistan between 2011 and 2018. And was nominated by good old President Barack Obama, and the Havana Syndrome was named so after diplomats serving in the recently reopened U.S. mission in Cuba began complaining in late 2016 of unexplained dizziness, headaches, and hearing piercing directional noise. The Trump administration cited reports of these attacks to draw down the embassy staff as it rolled back Obama's detonate with the Caribbean island. Did I read that right? And excuse me if I didn't. And diplomats and spies in Russia and China later began complaining of the same symptoms and seeking medical treatment for brain injuries, as is the case with the individuals in New Brunswick. And a study commissioned by the State Department of the United States, published last year, said that the symptoms were consistent with exposure to pulsed microwave energy. So the Yanks are admitting that there is a possibility that this could be caused by pulsed microwave energy, and I've been suggesting for quite some time that pulsed microwave, electromagnetic, and radio frequencies are being used against not just the citizens of the United States, but the citizens of the globe. And we all carry around with us the devices that can transmit those frequencies and can also tune and target those frequencies accordingly. And again, if COVID symptoms and electromagnetic symptoms are identical, what do you think is the real cause of that disease? Is there a virus and pathogens that has been released, or can they stimulate this electronically? I would go as far as to say the latter would be the more probable cause of that. But the Yanks, unlike the Canadians, as of yet are admitting, and this is why we need to pay attention to it, because when the government start admitting it, just like they're admitting there is unidentified flying objects they can't explain, although the United States do assure us it is not any of their technology that has been constructed and experimented on with black budget funding. They do suggest, though, however, it could be Russia or China behind the unidentified flying objects, and maybe they might even somehow merge this Havana Syndrome in New Brunswick Syndrome in with the it was the objects coming down and blasting us with frequencies, if you feel what I'm saying and where I'm going with that. Maybe they will, because they can't sort of, the Yanks at least are saying that they don't, this is sort of unidentified technology that they don't know anything about, which is very similar to the narrative about the unidentified aerial phenomenon, aka UFOs. And they are suggesting that this technology and weaponry is being used against US personnel, and the US media, of course, they were quick to point out the ever stereotypical cliche accusatory finger at Russia and China. Of course, there's a picture of a satellite in the embassy there in Havana with a good old classic looking car. So I think that is it. No, it isn't. Who caused the Havana Syndrome? With the latest research naming no culprit, MSN rushes to declare Russia. Of course it is. And the mainstream media, as you are developing and seeing for yourself, are playing a very, very big part in delivering this official narrative that it's not the Americans, it's not the government, your own government doing it to you, which is exactly who is fucking doing it to you. But again, blame your fabricated enemy for the things that you are doing, and this is misdirection and the misinformation. But neither the CIA or the State Department have officially concluded that Russia is behind the incidents. However, according to the New York Times, former CIA Director Gina Haspel was not convinced by the evidence that these incidents could be definitely classified as an attack, let alone that it was Russia that was responsible. William Burns, nominated to be her successor, told the Senate during confirmation hearings earlier this month that he did regard the incidents as attacks, but would review the evidence to get to the bottom of the matter. Hope they don't review, or I hope they do, review it a lot more than the evidence they were given with regards to a certain September Tuesday, because obviously the evidence they were given was very, very unsubstantial if they believe that jet fuel and radicalized hijackers with limited flight knowledge carried that out using commercial jets as torpedoes. But in January 2019, a scientist at Berkeley, where Spranin got a master's disease, said he had analyzed the recordings of the mystery sonic attack, which was published by the Associated Press, and concluded it was the noise made by the Indies' short-tailed cricket. Of course it was, and something I did hear an awful lot of last year, more than any year before, was an amount of crickets, an alarming sound of crickets chirping down at the lake during the summer of last year. And could this again be sort of the distraction or creating the cause of something else? You know, all those sounds you're hearing, it's not directed energy or EMF frequency weaponry, it's just crickets chirping. Always provide a plausible alibi, I guess. And please, again, I will reiterate, DARPA has very, very, very much its arm deep in research about insect drones and genetically modified insects. Make of that what you will. Check out those videos at your leisure. They are on my playlist under DARPA. But all I can say, not me, this is the individual from the article, is that the Associated Press released a recording, and this is the individual that's saying it's just a cricket, nothing to see here, or nothing to hear here rather, and we think we know what species it is. Alexander Stubbs told the New York Times at the time. There is again that picture with a different car this time in the picture, and also on rtcom.com. Cue the crickets. Berkeley researcher finds Cuba sonic attack sound is actually insects. So again, they're trying to dismiss the fact that it is a sonic or EMF weaponry technology being used against them, just saying, oh no, no, it wasn't. It was just confusion. It's just crickets chirping. Not a lie if you believe it. But when the House of Foreign Affairs Committee asked Blinken on Wednesday if the State Department had identified who was behind the attacks, he said the short answer to your question is no. Do you think your friends would be interested? Share this story, is what they're saying on RT.com. And that is the end of the article. So as I said, guys, I am going to just show you quickly what the search results are putting up with regards to Canada brain syndrome, and you can see for yourself that there is maybe not a saturation in the sense of the Havana syndrome, or certainly unidentified aerial phenomenon related articles, but there is a little bit of a mainstream campaign to control the narrative and provide the thoughts and opinions for the masses to believe what could or could not be the result of these symptoms being referred to as New Brunswick syndrome or Havana syndrome, one and the same, and the source of the cause is what I truly believe, these frequency type weaponry. So stay tuned, guys. We are going to check out the search results right now. Okie dokie, here we are at DDG, where you can see I've put in the search bar there at the top Canada, I didn't even put Canada brain syndrome, and you can kind of see the sort of timeline is similar. There's not too many in the recent days, but a couple of weeks ago, around the same time that Havana syndrome buzz was being reported south of the border and around the globe, this was launched here in Canada. So you can see 16 days ago, mysterious brain syndrome grips Canada. There is the article we just looked at from RT. 16 days ago, 15 days ago, mysterious brain disease spreading in Canada. And India Times 14 days ago, yada yada, whoop-de-woo, ray-tay-tay. BT Times, or was that IBT Times? IBT Times, forget coronavirus, mysterious brain illnesses baffles Canadian health experts in. Trust me, guys, we will be forgetting about coronavirus pretty shortly, I believe, as they are lining out the second track, so to speak, in the all-out apocalyptic psyop that will be ushering us into the one world order. They've sort of dragged that out as long as they can, and now they are seed planting. The alien agenda is been rolling out, and they are sort of seed planting the agenda beyond or within. Sometimes you need to blend two tracks together to get the perfect tune to get everybody up on the dance floor, to make some DJ references and similes for you. Hopefully they made sense to you, but this is what they do. They have agendas up their sleeve, line out to control us, and just as one is coming to an end, they will replace it with another one, just like a DJ blends one track into another to create the perfect playlist. But as you can see, guys, bizarre brain syndrome, mysterious brain syndrome, New Brunswick ramps up efforts to solve mystery, first public survey on COVID's, Canada's COVID long haulers reveal enduring brain fog fatigue. But it goes on, and as you sort of get to the bottom, hope on the horizon for COVID-19 long haulers, and there isn't hope. Hope on the horizon is the carrot on the stick that they've been dangling in front of us this whole time, and sooner or later we're going to get pissed off of following the carrot, so they're going to have to replace the carrot with something much more tastier to distract and have us follow along. Could this whole brain syndrome be part and parcel of the alien UFO agenda, or is this going to be a separate psyop? As I said, it is all out apocalypse against humanity. They are putting out all the cards and tricks, it seems, to control, manipulate, then distract us in behind the COVIDian mist. As I said, there's an awful lot of disturbing stuff circulating and going on with regards to these frequencies, as well as all the all-out alien narrative that is providing us with the controlled and official narrative for the coming event. So that's it. We're going to come out of recent articles, because as I said, they are pretty much all at the same. I did just want to sort of demonstrate that pretty much they are all reading from the same script. So we're going to look a little bit more at some of these symptoms that are caused by frequency sensitivity, as well as, before we wrap up, looking at a patent that I find particularly disturbing, because this patent is something that resides within each and every single household in the westernized world. Stay tuned, guys. Still lots more to come in this Reality Decoded presentation. Canadian brain syndrome.
You can't see what's happening to us, you can only see our reaction to it. Everyone's got that level of skepticism about it. People just don't understand, and that leaves you very much on your own. Each time there's something introduced to the environment which is a contaminant, there's always going to be people that react first. And we're just those people. We are the canaries in the gold mine. I've had EHS now since about 2007.
Electromagnetic hypersensitivity is a condition characterised by a range of symptoms which sufferers attribute to exposure to electromagnetic fields. Common sources include computers, mobile phones and their base stations. In Australia, EHS is not recognised as a medical condition.
EHS people are sensitive to Wi-Fi, smart meters, mobile phones, mobile phone towers, any type of radiation basically. The most common symptoms are nausea, headaches, short-term memory problems. Tinnitus is very big. Like right now, I'm just getting and like a squealing in my ears.
There is no medical diagnosis for EHS, but the World Health Organization states that electromagnetic fields represent one of the most common and fastest growing environmental influences, about which anxiety and speculation is spreading. And as technology advances, our exposure to electromagnetic fields will only increase.
I've been out here about 5 months, I think. I came out here because I had nowhere else to go.
Bruce first felt symptoms in 2007 while living in Melbourne. Shortly after, he moved to his father's farm in Benalla, where exposure to electromagnetic radiation is less severe.
I first experienced problems when I got an iPhone. It was like someone stuck an ice pick in the side of my head. I still didn't click at that time, but then things just gradually got worse, and there was always a correlation between exposure and symptoms. I was pretty much a prisoner in my room for about 2 years. Well, I might be in a pub and everyone's standing around with their phones texting and all that sort of stuff, and I'd start getting a headache, but I was sceptical. I didn't believe it. I thought it was a crock, but the correlation was too direct. You try to explain that to people and they just think you're a lunatic or something, but it's very real. Every aspect of my social life, like relationships, everything, destroyed by this. What woman wants to go out with a guy that can't go anywhere? She might as well go out with someone who's a prisoner.
Bruce's computer has protective shielding over the monitor. He says this allows him to work on it most days.
I build content management systems for websites. I do SEO and I do build websites as well. And I do a little bit of graphic work.
Bruce says people with EHS react differently to different types of radiation. But it's inconsistencies such as this that have people sceptical about the condition.
We've been really looking to see whether or not the electromagnetic radiation from mobile phones, for instance, actually causes the symptoms. So far, we've not been able to find an effect of electromagnetic radiation on the kind of symptoms that people report from electrohypersensitivity.
Rodney Croft is the director at the Australian Centre for Electromagnetic Bioeffects Research. He's been coordinating studies into radio frequency effects on brain function.
There are some people around the world who are very convinced that this is a real problem.
It's just all closing in. They're just closing every black spot. They're eliminating every piece of refuge in the world where someone can actually find respite. Eventually there's going to be absolutely nowhere to go.
There is one place people like Bruce can go.
So it is like stepping back in time. You don't have a lot of conveniences, and if you had an iPad, it wouldn't work here. This is the only place in the world I know that is protected.
Greenbank in West Virginia is home to one of the world's largest telescopes. In order for it to operate without interference, use of wireless communication devices is prohibited. It has become a haven for people with electromagnetic hypersensitivity.
It's wonderful because you don't have the electromagnetic radiation emissions from cell towers, you don't have cell phones, you don't have television antennas. It's restricted, so therefore it's a safe place.
Diane Scow has a PhD in industrial technology and biology. She describes herself as electrosensitive. She moved to Greenbank in 2002 after experiencing severe headaches. Both she and her husband Bert believe these were triggered by emissions from a mobile phone tower near her home in Iowa.
It was very upsetting that I had to leave home. I had traveled through Iowa looking for a safe place. I had traveled the adjacent states in Wisconsin and Minnesota. No, I didn't have success. I even traveled as far as North Dakota and Wyoming, California, Oregon, even Florida, many places. And I was looking for absolutely no headache, no pain, no symptoms. But in my searching for a place without the cell phones and cell towers, a park ranger told me about Greenbank.
People who knew me in Iowa and how ill I was there, when they come here, they're amazed at how much better I am. Yeah.
Life in Greenbank is different. A number of people come here and they go through a culture shock. We do not have a Starbucks coffee here. We do not have shopping malls here.
But for EHF sufferers in Greenbank, life is not perfect. Many find themselves isolated from their families.
I feel very isolated, especially when I cannot go to family reunions, when I cannot go to special celebrations.
Diane estimates around 50 people in Greenbank suffer EHS. This is about a third of the population.
I don't want to call it a club, but we have something in common that most other people don't have. We may not have the same symptoms, we may not react to the same thing, but we understand. And that is very important, is to be able to talk to somebody who understands instead of someone saying, well, I don't believe you, you're just making it up. What is difficult is telling someone and they don't believe that. They've never heard about it. If you go to Scandinavia or some other countries, everyone has heard of it.
I applied for asylum in Sweden at one stage because I was absolutely desperate, and I'd been in lockdown for basically 2 years, and I just needed to get out and reclaim my life.
In 2002, Sweden became the first country to formally recognise EHS as a physical impairment.
In Sweden, they get the governmental subsidy because it is recognized, and it will then take care of all the needs of people with this disability.
Neuroscientist Ollie Watson was a major force in the push for electrohypersensitivity to be formally recognised in Sweden. He has long warned about the health impact of exposure to electromagnetic fields.
People with electrohypersensitivity, they do not have a disease. They do not have an overall diagnosis. They are not patients. They are normal, healthy people from that point of view. But in inferior environments, they will function less well.
I knew that, with something like this, it's a waste of time seeking medical help or anything like that, but I did it anyway. And I went to every type of therapy you can imagine, and all of them started from the premise that you've got some psychological problem or you've got an emotional issue.
It is definitely possible that electrohypersensitivity has a streak of or a major impact of psychological factors. So far, it has not been able to prove it in various controlled experiments. There are no evidence that the radiation from electromagnetic sources such as mobile phones, computers, etc. do not harm us. Some people with electrohypersensitivity say that they are kind of the classical canary bird in the coal mine. And it has been that case very many times in human history, that a subgroup reacts first. After some years, it's a realization that everyone is in jeopardy.
In terms of symptoms, in terms of whether people become more stressed with the exposure from a mobile phone, for instance, there's been a lot of this research trying to work out whether there is any difference, and it's a very clear no at this stage.
I've got a good sense of humour, so I have a bit of a laugh about it myself. I don't get precious about it. I understand that they don't know what's going on. Yeah, I miss just having a normal life. I just want my life back. That's it. I just want to do normal things. I want to go to a cafe and have a coffee without coming back home with a thumping headache and having to say to everyone, look, I've got to go because there's a phone tower over there, and they all start laughing and, because they just don't get it.
They've got to tell people. Tell them what? The oceans die. Plankton die. It's people. Silent breed made out of people. They're making our food. Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle. The food. You better tell them. You better tell them.
Electricity is all around us all the time. It makes our lives easier, safer, more fun, and most of us never think about it. But is there such a thing as too much electricity? Could the thing that is the foundation of the modern world slowly be killing us? Before we dive deeper, let's try to understand what electricity is and how it affects us. Electricity is the movement of an electric charge. This movement generates electric and magnetic fields that spread out through space and carry energy. We call this phenomenon electromagnetic radiation. Radiation is a word that makes people very nervous, but to radiate just means giving off. Like when the radiator in your house gives off heat in the form of infrared radiation. Different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum correspond to different types of radiation. and many of them are perfectly harmless. Some of them can be dangerous though. Radiation with very short wavelengths, like UV light, X-rays and gamma rays, are strong enough to rip electrons out of their atoms, which can cause burns and genetic damage. This is what many people have in mind when they hear the term radiation. The rest of the spectrum covers a large range of longer waves, from visible light, infrared, microwaves to radio waves. This is the kind of radiation that's emitted by all sorts of human technology: mobile phones, Wi-Fi routers, electric power lines, and household appliances. This radiation doesn't disrupt molecules in our body. However, some kinds of radiation can stimulate muscles and nerves and can also make the hair on your body vibrate, which can sometimes cause a tingly feeling above certain threshold values. Other kinds are useful for making dinner. Microwaves push the water molecules in your food around, which warms it up. This happens to us all the time. For example, the pleasant warmth you feel at the beach is your skin heating up from exposure to electromagnetic infrared radiation from the sun. We are surrounded by natural and generally harmless sources of electromagnetic radiation all the time, and always have been. But since the Industrial Revolution, we have added a lot of it to our immediate environment. The question of whether this is actually dangerous first got public attention when a 1979 study linked leukemia to living near power lines. This particular study was quickly discredited though. The connection could not be explained and no direct causal link was confirmed. But once this had been proposed, the idea persisted, and the thousands of studies about possible dangers illustrate that it's still seen as a very real threat. A lot of people claim to be sensitive to the radiation coming from our appliances and cell phones. They report symptoms like headaches, nausea, skin reactions, burning eyes, or exhaustion. But those are just effects reported on a day-to-day basis. A few studies have found much more unsettling results, like possible connections between the side of the brain which people use when they're on their phones and the appearance of brain tumors. The question that science is trying to answer is not so much about the acute effects of irradiation. We know, for example, that X-rays cause immediate damage to the DNA in your cells, but that the same doesn't happen with radio waves. The question is rather, is the sort of weak electromagnetic radiation we are constantly surrounded by harmful in the long run as a result of some as yet unknown mechanism? Answering this question was much harder than we first thought. There are thousands of primary sources, reports and statements by an onslaught of different organizations. So we read a lot for this video. You can take a look at our research in the video description. What we found is that this debate is a good example of how science should be communicated and how it shouldn't. Many of the much-cited studies that spread panic about electromagnetic radiation are highly controversial. For example, a series of population studies based on surveys and self-reporting. What this means is, for example, asking brain tumor patients how much they think they used their phone in the last few years. The problem is that people are unreliable. We tend to misremember things or can be influenced easily. On top of this, studies or media reports may be cherry-picking the findings that best suit their opinion or make for the most exciting headline. For example, a study looking for cancer in rats and mice from cell phone radiation. The results seemed to show a connection, but for some reason only in male rats, and none at all in mice. But it was reported as if this study did prove that mobile phone radiation causes cancer. Unfortunately, this is the case for studies with both positive and negative findings on the issue. Another aspect is that the WHO did officially classify radio frequency fields as possibly carcinogenic, but what this actually means is that there are some hints that they might cause cancer, but we can't prove it and that we will keep an eye out. So, if we zoom out a bit, what's the big picture? On the whole, there was no consistent evidence in human studies that electromagnetic radiation below exposure value limits causes health problems. There are some statistical associations, but they're mostly weak and inconsistent. If there were any definite cause-effect relations, we would know by now because of all the data we have. So, based on the current state of science, should you worry about the radiation from your laptop or cell phone or TV? The answer is no, you shouldn't. But what about the people that say it is harming them? research showed they could be experiencing what's known as the nocebo effect. If you have a headache and happen to start feeling better right when you switch off your laptop, you might see a connection between those two things. Once you get this suspicion, the idea alone that weak radiation might harm you could be the very thing harming you. It's easy to belittle these people. Most of them feel they're not being taken seriously, which makes the situation even worse for them. They should get support, but it's important to be aware that, so far, we have no robust evidence that electricity below safety limits has any negative effect on humans. In the attention economy we live in, talking about unproven dangers can make us neglect things that we know for sure are bad for us. Just one example. Outdoor air pollution is linked to 4.2 million premature deaths each year and is definitely something we could have a real impact on today. Still, to make people feel safe and just to make sure, there are several long-term studies ongoing already. For example, the Cosmos study that will look at the possible health impacts of cell phone use by exactly measuring frequency and duration of phone calls. But while we wait for the conclusion of these long-term studies, there are a lot more pressing problems to focus on.
Here at EMFprotector.org, they have an article concerning the symptoms of electro-hypersensitivity, which we are going to look at just a little bit, but probably won't read in its entirety. We will concentrate a little bit on the symptoms and maybe one or two ways that they suggest you can reduce your exposure to such things. And I guess that is a dramatization of somebody that is allegedly, I mean, he could be sick from anything, and it looks like he's got a girlfriend asking how he's feeling. He also looks a little bit like Marfugel, don't you think? He's like maybe something. Why aren't they buying enough EMP shields decks? I've been pimping them every episode for the last 3 years, and we've only sold 2, and that was to you and me. Sorry, I sort of digress. But let me know if you think that looks like a certain shill YouTuber that hot musketed it up a little while ago. But electrosensitivity has become a health concern for many people, and it is believed that some people are more sensitive to it than others. However, the author, from personally suffering from it, believes that if a person comes run down, then they also become more sensitive to electromagnetic radiation, quite possibly when you're sort of feeling run down a little bit under the weather. Your sort of body doesn't necessarily sort of work as well as it should do, so any interfering external substances, frequencies or whatever is put into you, then it sort of will have a little bit of a higher damaging effect on you. You know, for example, if you sort of you've got the flu and someone punches you in the face, it's going to hurt a lot more than if you didn't have the flu, if you know what I'm saying. But he's saying that if you are a little bit run down, then you will be more sensitive to it. However, people who have highly sensitive bodies, particularly those who suffer from allergies related to food, cold, toxins, chemicals, and cigarette smoke, are considered to be more EMF sensitive. So if you do have a little bit of a tolerance and may have had a previous dependencies to chemicals, substances, and cigarette smoke, maybe these might be a little bit of a protector to your body from such things. And I am an avid smoker and did have quite an appetite for chemicals and substances, to which I did develop quite a tolerance to. But in addition, individuals who have sensitive nervous systems, or those whose cells have abnormal biofrequency as a result of childhood exposure to heavy metals, are also considered to react to EMF. And the article is going to tell us the sights and signs of the symptoms related to sensitivity caused by electromagnetic frequencies, what you need to look out for, and what you can do to reduce it. And the reducing and the symptoms is what we're going to look at more. We're not going to bother what it is, because by now we've established quite well, I hope, if you have been paying attention, what they are. But here are the signs and symptoms of hypersensitivity. And many studies have shown that some people tend to experience symptoms as a result of electromagnetic fields and radio frequency radiation coming from electrical devices such as Wi-Fi networks, computers, fluorescent lighting, household appliances, cordless phones, electric blankets, smart meters, mobile phones, cell phones, mast, power lines, and household wirings, radio masts, and television masts. Like I said, all the things that saturate modern society and are producing an unseen silent weapon for a quiet war. The symptoms of hypersensitivity include cancer as at the top of the symptom, and as obviously there's probably not that much more disturbing things that you could catch as a result of sensitivity than a cancer, and it is also considered to be a symptom of electrosensitivity sensitivity and electromagnetic exposure. For instance, childhood leukemia has been linked to overexposure to power lines, a discovery that was made in 1979. So again, I just reiterate, these experts that have been put on task force to try and unravel the mystery of these Havana syndrome and New Brunswick syndrome clearly aren't looking in the right places for their answers, because if they did, then they would find out since 1979 people have been reporting that cancer can be the cause of exposure to radio frequencies and such forth. Leukemia that develops during adulthood, as well as lymphoma, I can't read that, has also been linked to electromagnetic exposure. Other cancers that are believed to occur as a result of electromagnetic sensitivity include prostate cancer, melanoma, breast cancer, and testicular cancer. In addition, energy from cell phones has also been associated with a brain tumor. Tiredness. Abnormal tiredness is one symptom of electromagnetic sensitivity, and it is an experience, something I have experienced quite a lot. And I did used to suffer greatly from insomnia in the last sort of couple of months. And so I've had some days when I literally cannot wake up for love or money. And then when I try to sort of go back to bed, then I'm unable to sleep. But if you're affected, you are likely to suffer from excessive tiredness that never seems to go away, or feeling weak or dizzy, or maybe even faint after having a good night's sleep. And again, sometimes I wake up and feel, did I even go to sleep? And on the flip side of feeling overly tired, insomnia. Now imagine if they triggered it back and forth. So you're feeling constantly tired, and then when you try to sleep you get insomnia. And that is actually a pattern that I have experienced and did experience over as recently as this weekend. Over Saturday and Friday night I was unable to sleep, then was unable to stay awake when I got out of bed, only to go back to bed to find I couldn't sleep. But insomnia and the inability to sleep could be due to high electrical fields that often come from electrical wiring near your bed and from other electrical devices such as cell phones, laptop, tablets, as well as from a Wi-Fi network. And another thing, the first generation of digital technology that we brought into our household, something that many of us had by our bedside on our bedside table, was a digital clock radio that can also emit frequencies. But the EMF radiation coming from these devices, particularly in your bedroom, can prevent you from having a good night's sleep, because you are likely to wake up constantly and or feel restless the entire night if you are hypersensitive. And I do, if I get to sleep, sometimes find myself waking up constantly to pee. And I'm like, how much pee can I have in me? I've already kind of pissed 17 liters. There can't be any more piss left in me. But neurological problems are another symptom of EMF sensitivity, and such as motor neuron disease, Tourette's syndrome, and Parkinson's are all believed to occur due to electromagnetic exposure exposure. Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Exposure to power lines is also believed to contribute to symptoms associated to both of those above mentioned diseases or illnesses. So affected individuals are likely to have trouble recalling names or difficulty concentrating. Sometimes I find myself finding it very hard to concentrate or focus on any one thing. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and autism are again things that are a common symptom of this sensitivity to electromagnetic frequencies, and something that has sort of been on the rise in the sort of last 20 or so years, that technology has been brought more and more into the household. Atari led to Nintendo, Nintendo led to PlayStation, PlayStation led to Xboxes. All of these things now, you know, since the 1980s, late 1970s, people have had sort of video game consoles that they brought into their households. They brought VCRs and such forth, DVD players, Blu-rays, computers, all of this stuff into your house. And we are going to look at a disturbing pattern just before we do wrap this up. Ear problems. Studies have shown that significant relationship between tinnitus and electrosensitivity. In addition, people who use their cell phones constantly have also been said to suffer from tinnitus as a result of the energy emitted by cell phones. And I've always got a rear ear ringing in my ear, and can't remember a time when I didn't. Earaches are also said to be triggered. Cardiovascular problems, heart palpitations, and chest pains are also common in electrosensitive individuals, and there is also speculation that electrosensitive people are and may be more likely to suffer from other cardiovascular problems such as heart attacks and strokes. Dermatological problems, they can often be attributed to EMF sensitivity, and they tend to get skin reactions such as redness, rash, tingling, and burning sensations similar to sunburn. And some of you may recall not so long ago I mentioned more than once that during the darker winter months of January and February, I did have sort of a spot on the left side of my head that very, very much felt like sunburn. And I do sort of shave my head once or twice a week with a razor blade, and it was very, very unpleasant shaving my head during that period of time. And some electrosensitive people have reported redness on the face having worked with a visual display unit or electric devices. Emotional problems. Since as early as 1979, electromagnetic exposure has also been associated with high levels of suicide, stress, depression, and anxiety, all things people are suffering from and under the COVIDian mist. And many of these individuals that have been self-isolated, self-quarantined at home, locked up in and among all their technology, glued to their cellular devices, checking out news streams and sharing and agreeing with popular deep state provided propaganda memes and copying and pasting their clone hive mind opinions. And while they're doing that, they are being bombarded by frequencies, and I've already mentioned this. I do believe that is why they want us 6 feet apart from each other, because they can create a little electromagnetic bubble around us that can provide us with constant barrage of frequency bursts that will control our thoughts, actions, or the way we feel. Headaches. Also have migraine and headache problems very, very frequently, so we don't need to really sort of explain that is something that I've experienced, and I know when I've mentioned this in the past, some of you guys have also said this. More disturbingly, miscarriages and infertility. There's your depopulation. You don't necessarily need to carry out acts of genocide to depopulate the world. You can just get the population to be unable to repopulate, to depopulate. So infertility and miscarriages also can be attributed to the symptoms of electromagnetic sensitivity and infertility in particular, men are very, very subject to this, and sort of many of us do tend to sort of use our cellular devices in and around our lap. And something that is also disturbing is the amount of people that give very, very small infants, like toddlers and babies, are now sort of given tablets and phones as babysitters. And many of you may be aware that the battery charger is at the bottom of your phone, and if you sort of want to give it a little test, sort of kind of lick your finger and put your finger underneath your battery charger and tell me if you feel a tingle. Talking of tingles, before I forget, and we did hear in one of those previous videos talking about symptoms that sort of this electromagnetic frequency can provide a tingling sensation in the body. Something that has been very, very popular in the last few years on YouTube in particular is ASMR. Autonomous sensitive sensory muscle response is what ASMR stands for. And if you've ever watched an ASMR video, it's usually somebody, often pretty girls or weird looking boys, that speak very, very softly and tap and click on things and make sort of sounds in noises with their mouths. And you're encouraged to wear earphones while you're listening to this, and the tapping and the sounds and the whispers will make you tingle. And I must admit, they are very, very relaxing. If you kind of do have a little bit of a sort of damaged dysfunctional mind that sort of is wandering here and there and you can't focus, it is a pretty good way. It's a little bit like kind of guided meditation, I guess, to sort of shut the mind down a little bit. But I do believe there is a much more dangerous and sinister nefarious purpose to the popularity of ASMR, and maybe that is in fact to deliver us into a bubble of electromagnetic fields. Again, this is sort of something that that has been sort of popularized in sort of recent years. Headphones in the wearing of Bluetooth gadgets in your ears, and back in the sort of 80s, the dawn of the Walkman, I do believe that Walkmans and Dolby sound system were in fact weaponized technology. But many, if you do check out some of the other previous mind control content stuff that I do have on my channel, and more recently the thought control stream from this previous Friday, we did show you a few videos of examples and experimentation in mind control, and nearly every single mind control device that is available to scientists does look very, very much like headphones. Once you sort of put the headphones in, you kind of create a circuit between the left and the right side, with your brain being the conductor, and it can then sort of form a bubble around the brain and bombard it with frequencies, and God knows subliminal messages and stuff within music and unheard sounds may be distributed to you. And that is exactly what they encourage you to do with ASMR. Lie down, relax, shut your eyes, and put your headphones in and listen to the whispering, tapping sounds, and tingle your tits off for 20 or so minutes. Check out ASMR videos if you haven't already. I actually have a couple over on TSP-TV. Someone told me that I had an unintentional ASMR effect. But restless leg syndrome is another symptom of EMF sensitivity, when you get jumpy legs, and it often occurs when a person is trying to sleep or rest or relaxing. And it is thought that restless leg syndrome may also be a symptom, maybe they're sort of like zapping your reflexes to make it twitch with frequencies, right? But tips, that's pretty much the list there. But tips on how to reduce the symptoms of hypersensitivity. If you are sensitive to these things, it is important that you get rid of at least minimize the sources of EMFs in your work or living environments. And here are some precautions you can take. Stop using wireless devices such as Wi-Fi and cordless phones. You can opt to use cable internet, which is safer. Unplug electrical devices when you're not using them. Switch off electrical circuits responsible for the high electric fields, particularly in your bedroom. If you can get one, use an EMF meter to measure EMFs in your house or office environment and get rid of anything that is producing dirty electric. Turn off your mobile phone at night and keep it in a different room other than your bedroom, or at least as far away from your bed as you possibly can. Something I do when I go to sleep is I put both of my cellular phones, because I have two, one sort of for phone calls in sort of everyday use, and one that I use primarily and solely for ship video productions. It's sort of my camera, studio, recording equipment, all in one. But when I'm not using them, and I'm definitely, when I'm going to kind of go to sleep time, then I do put them in a Ziploc Mylar bag. Keep your mobile phone on flight mode during the day when you are not using it. Replace CFL bulbs with incandescent bulbs. Use EMF protection devices such as mobile phone protection cases, router guards, protection pyramids, and EMF protection crystals. I think I have an EMF protection crystal type thing that I was given by a friend last summer. I forget the name of it now. Another little tip that you can use chip bags like your Cheetos or a bag of Lay's. If you chuck your cell phone in those should also act as a shield for you. And the final thought, feel a little bit like Jerry Springer there, although they're not my final thoughts, they're the final thoughts of the writer of this article. If you are sensitive to electromagnetic fields, it is important that you use an electromagnetic shield and filters to get rid of the electromagnetic pollution in your home and office environment. Unfortunately, for most of us, electromagnetic radiation is all around us, and the only thing we can really do about it is being aware of the items in your environment and in your immediate surroundings that are emitting an unhealthy level of EMFs, and there's no real escaping or avoiding it, guys. If you are in a very, very dense populated large city like I find myself in Toronto, and if you are out in the sticks and in the boonies around in the rural areas, you might have a little bit of respite from the constant saturation of these frequencies. And it go from under the ground to street level right up into and above our atmosphere. A few simple changes to your lifestyle can go a long way in reducing your exposure to ensure you're doing everything possible to protect yourself and your family. You may also want to invest in various EMF protection devices for your home and work environment. So as I said, that was from EMFprotector.org. If you just quick out very quickly, we're not again gonna read it all. I am just going to use it to demonstrate Healthline. So this is another sort of independent source from the one that we've just saw, and this is a Healthline recommendations about sensitivity, not a website that is directed just to EMF sensitivity that might sort of sensationalize a little bit. So just so that you can see there is a similarity. It doesn't matter if you're trying to sort of promote it or if you are just a health an alternative health outlet, then the symptoms are exactly the same. As I said, we're not going to read it all. But types of EMF exposure, there are two types according to this site. Low-level radiation, also called non-ionizing radiation, and it is mild and thought to be harmless to people, or is it? Appliances like microwave ovens, cell phones, and Wi-Fi routers and power lines and MRIs send low-level radiation. These are all the things that we have around us, but they're, unlike the previous article, these are a little bit more health generated, kind of suggesting that don't worry about it. All your cell phones and technology and gadgets in your household, they're perfectly safe, but they're not. They were purposely designed as the delivery devices for these frequencies. But going down, there are a little list of things on non-ionizing radiation, and again trying to sort of make it look like all these sort of household appliances that most people have are not anything to worry about. But the research on the harmfulness, there is the disagreement over the EMF safety, because there's no strong research suggesting that it is a harm to humans' health, although that does seem to be changing with task force being distributed and administered to look deeper into the Havana and what is known here in Canada as New Brunswick syndrome rather. But one item the most people use every day that sends EMF is a cell phone. Use of cell phones is increased significantly since the 1980s, and as I said, I do believe that the dawn of the digital era, the first generation back in the 80s, was when they rolled out this kind of more personalized mind control and pollution, frequency pollution of the household, because that was when we did start to bring technological devices into our homes. Check out 1985 Decoded. It was a little bit of a labor of love, and it was sort of when I was really in the midst of the rabbit hole of all of this, that I sort of trying to track when it all sort of begun, was when the sort of realization that first generation technology was the dawn of our mind control, when we voluntarily brought this stuff into our house. But the 1980s was the dawn of the digital era. That was when all the digital watches, digital clocks, VHSs, VCRs, Atari, ColecoVision, all of this stuff, little LCD games and stuff like that. We all started to carry around an awful lot more electronics than before. So as I say, guys, please check out 1985 Decoded, if not only for the 80s nostalgia that is contained within that, but there are some very predictive programming messages contained within a lot of 80s entertainment. And I actually do believe, as I said, at that time they were pumping us full of feel-good frequencies to make us sort of want more and more technology, and sort of make us feel as though, oh my God, how could we ever have lived without this? Possibly. And we are now into the 5th generation of the digital era, and God only knows what society is going to be like by the time we get 7G technology. My guess is it is going to be a non-binary, genderless society of transhumans that are sort of plugged in directly to their technology. Share if you agree with me there. You don't have to share and agree at all, but it would be nice to see if you have some thoughts and opinions on that idea of your own. But certainly the way I'm seeing modern society, it does seem to me, at least, that is where we are being led. Where are these symptoms? Down here, danger levels, is a very longer item. Here we go, the symptoms. As I said, that was all I really wanted to highlight in this article. Sleep disturbances, including insomnia, headache, depression, and depressive symptoms, tiredness and fatigue, dysesthesia, I can't read that, dysesthesia, terrible word for me to read, a painful, often itchy sensation, something Almel we were talking about the other day, getting prickly heat is an itchy sensation. Is that because of the sunshine being that strong, or is it because of the frequencies being wrapped up? Lack of concentration, changes in memory, dizziness, irritability, loss of appetite and weight loss, restlessness and anxiety, nausea, skin burning and tingling. Again, we talked about ASMR there. Changes in an electroencephalogram, which measures electrical activity in the brain. But the symptoms of EMF exposure are vague, and diagnosis from symptoms is unlikely. We don't know yet enough about the effects on human health. Research in the next years may be better. And this is it, guys. We are the lab rats. We are the canary in the coal mine that they are using to experiment on. And I do believe maybe there's sort of isolated areas in sort of Havana and New Brunswick, maybe that they are conducting experimentation on lab rats that are you and I of society without us knowing. No need to drag boys off the street like they did with the Montauk project. We've got our test subjects unwilling and knowing right in front of us, walking on the streets each and every day. So they will suggest the same things to protect yourself from it there. So that was it, guys. I did want to, as I say, just show you a little bit of the symptoms, and there is a couple of articles from various or two conflicting rather websites and sources. One was dedicated solely to EMF awareness, and one is a Healthline website that gives you sort of generalized health advice. Make of it what you will. Anyway, guys, now, as I promised, we are going to go and look at one of a variety in possible hundreds of patents that I could have chosen to contain within this, but it is one, as I said, that is sort of a paramount and applicable to each and every one of us for the most part, and something I just mentioned a little bit ago has been sort of in every household probably since the 1980s. So stay tuned, guys. So we're almost done, but there is one more disturbing, dank, revelationary article to look at before we do return to the studio live. Okay, guys, as promised, we are going to look at US patent 8579393, and the inventor was James David Honeycutt and John Cloyce Honeycutt Jr., and the assignee of this patent was James David Honeycutt, and it is a patent for apparatus to affect brainwave entertainment over premise power line wiring. I did actually feature this in Thought Control very briefly on Friday night, and I do need to reiterate it because this is very important, because every single household has this set up pretty much. But basically, this invention discloses an apparatus and method to affect brainwave entertainment by very low frequency exclusive OR/XOR modulation of a very high frequency carrier over a premises power line, alternating a current, AC. So basically, this is a modulator to stimulate the brain, to entertain the brain while you are watching entertainment. And if you remember, the health care advice said that there's nothing to worry about. Low frequency technology won't cause you any harm. However, here's a patent that is designed, has been around for a very long time, that is a low frequency that does exactly that. It orders your mind and entertains it. And this runs through devices that are connected to AC outlets, which is pretty much every device in the household. A microcontroller with a stored program memory space is used to store and produce the waveforms that lead to brainwave entertainment by controlling an H-bridge capable of generating bipolar square waves. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact scientific definition of that, because I'm not a scientific person and I don't have the knowledge to do so. But basically, if I can kind of try to sort of give you an example what it is, this is your artificial intelligent algorithm that relies now with in your cellular smart devices self-monitoring analytical research technology, and it is designed to self-monitor the individual and use it to target. So this is the microcontroller that they put within a technology, and it is stored with a program memory. Just as I've explained, your artificial intelligence is a robot. It does have a memory that retains all of your data, and then it is used to produce the waveform based on the data that you have given it, right? So that is the explanation as best that I can give you. So all of our cellular devices has a microcontroller that is stored within it, and this microcontroller has been stored within technology far longer than before we had smartphones, but controlling the H-bridge that can generate bipolar waves. And bipolarism is again something that we sort of heard and are more aware of than ever before, and sort of could it be accounted to the dawn of the digital era? I would suggest so, and especially when you have patents for technology that do that. And this technology, we will discover very briefly, is in pretty much all of the devices that you are probably not too far away from right now, and may even be holding one in the palm of your hand as you are watching this. But the output of these square waves is capacitive, coupled to a premise AC power line, and a light sensing device is used by the microcontroller to determine whether to produce daytime or nighttime frequencies. So it can differentiate between giving you frequencies during the daytime, and then, oh, it's nighttime, let's blast them with some nighttime. And did Atari program our dreams? And this is exactly, why do they need to know it's nighttime in your sleep to target you with frequencies? Surely the entertainment frequency should only be there when you're watching entertainment. But let's go up, because we just read about it, and look at the diagram of this technology. And there you go. There is any given individual in any given household or living room right now, staring at a television that is connected at the time that this patent was passed with a VCR and a cable box. All of these wires and all of these things are coupled up to the AC power outlet, and the microcontroller can emit frequencies according to daytime and nighttime. And just to let you have a closer look, we'll look on the PDF for this patent. Actually, no, we won't. That's the wrong one. I believe it is the one underneath that we need to look at. No, it isn't. What's going on? Or is it? Sorry, I had it a second ago. Now I'm trying to find it. It's disappeared. Let me try one more time with the one above. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, I didn't go down far enough. So we're not going to read each and every word of this because it is a little bit of a long one. But let's try and read the abstract for the patent itself. So, sociological effects have been observed in human subjects in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near half a hertz to 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. And that is something, again, that ASMR does. It excites and stimulates these while we are connected to headphones, listening to whispers and tapping. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulsed images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer monitor or TV set or smartphone screen for that matter. Remember, this was written many years ago. For the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in the program material. Enjoy your programming. There's a reason they call it TV program, because these frequencies are embedded within it. Or it may be overlaid by modulating a video stream, either as an radio frequency signal or as a video signal. The image displayed on a computer monitor may be pulsed effectively by a simple computer program. For certain monitors, pulsed electromagnetic fields capable of exciting sensory resonance is nearby subjects, and it may be generated even as the displayed images are pulsed with subliminal intensity. So make of that what you will, guys. And there is again that diagram of an individual that is pulsing you with all of the things we just said. And as we go down, we can see all the pages of the 21 that can all the 21 pages that constitute to this pattern. And there you can kind of see some diagrams how it will be worked to target and deliver frequencies to you to excite the sensory glands. As I say, guys, you don't need to pay that much attention. We are just scrolling down to the very, very bottom. Look, the internet, remote computer, all of this has been patented and designed to control the way we think and feel while we are in front of video monitors, TV screens, or indeed in these modern times, cellular phone screens. So 12, as I said, all these words here you want to possibly not even pay attention to what it can do, but you can see there is an awful lot of information and a lot went into this one of 100 patterns that are listed as mind control device in this article. So there you can just see how much is involved in this one particular patent that, as I said, when we look up at the very, very top, there we go, that is pretty much every household in North America, although probably not so much with a VCR anymore or a bulky, blocky TV set like that. It'll probably be a flat screen and maybe a Blu-ray player if those things still exist. So there you go. And you might also wonder why your cell phone has a night mode and a day mode now, and that may well be to alternate between these bipolar frequencies that your little microcomputer can then target and tune the frequencies for whatever purpose or programming it desires. So that's it, guys. As I said, fightingmonarch.com, there is 100 patents listed here for mind control device. That was just one, and I did just want to reiterate and point that out because that has been in every household since at least the 1980s, and how long, that's at least how long I can consider that we have been subjected to this sort of more personalized frequency bombardment before the digital ages, when they were maybe just using radio antennas in TV towers. They might not have been as affected, but now we kind of can carry it around with us at any given time, at all times of the day, and many of us stick our phones under our pillow at night and sleep with it, and it is constantly surrounding us in a field of electromagneticity, if that's even a word. But never mind, guys, we are going to wrap this up now. Hopefully you found this interesting, informative, and probably a little bit disturbing. So we are going to play out a very short outro, and we will see you live shortly in the Thrift Store studio for chat and reaction.
Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you will realize that the only things that truly exist in this reality are merely pain, suffering, and futility. Listen. Everywhere you look in this world, wherever there is light, there will always be shadows to be found as well.
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you, as I said, you found that a little bit informative, maybe a little bit disturbing, and now is time to hear what you guys have to say or think on the matter, as what could the result or be the God, let me fucking start again, what would be the real reason of the causes for these symptoms being assigned to the Havana syndrome and to New Brunswick. And goodness gracious, somebody did say we even made the 20 mark a little while ago during that presentation. Something we don't often do is break 10 viewers sometimes, and sort of to get close to 20 was a little bit, well, uncharted waters. What do we do now? Murphys, much love. Thank you so much for you do. Great job. Certainly appreciate the kind feedback. But you know, sort of the purpose is to sort of give you guys who do watch some information. Now, there are some of you, I'm pretty sure, that are aware of this. There might be some of you that aren't aware of this. But you know, that last patent that we looked at right there that told us about the entertainment frequencies, basically dual technology. You can put this frequency in any technology, your phone, your VCR, that will emit a frequency. Now, kind of to support that, and again, take my word for this, by no means am I making this shit up or lying. Sometimes when I'm doing my like recording and researching and sort of putting it all together, especially when I look at topics concerning this, like EMF, mind control, stuff like this, I get a headache. Sometimes my eye feels it's gonna pop out. I sort of get stiff neck, don't want to, you know, God, go outside, see bright light, and it does sort of debilitate me. And is that because my little modulator inside my phone is like, uh-oh, quick, algorithm, he's looking at stuff he shouldn't. Get the frequency up to irritating, give him a headache, give him a migraine, do everything you can to stop him looking at it. I'm not saying that is it, I'm just saying that could be a possibility, and I have experienced these symptoms many times when I do look at this subject. And you know, this technology that we have now is so much more advanced than when they filed that patent that does exactly that. And you know, something that was part and parcel of the 1985 Decoded episode, in something I sort of was looking into in regards to frequencies, that during the 1980s, when this technology was brand new, they were bombarding us with the frequencies that give like an opioid effect. So we're like, happy there, just sitting there with these. And this is why we love the 80s, because everything was bombarding us with frequencies to make us love it. The music, the movies, the cartoons, all this shit. There was never probably a time better than the 80s, and that was because it was the dawn that we brought this technology into our house, just like we saw in that pattern for entertainment stimulation of the mind. And again, dual technology, you can either entertain us or you can fucking disturb us. And I've often made reference in more than once in previous streams about how Atari programmed our dreams, and we saw that the technology had a light sensor to differentiate between day and nighttime, and it could order the frequencies. And you know, were our dreams our own? Were these the result of our subliminal memories, or were they implanted? You know, after we watched horror movies, we used to, during the 1980s, more often than not, we'd have, you know, nightmares. Some of those that I watched back then as a kid, I'd keep the lights off and I'd go to sleep. I was so terrified of the nightmares. But as I said, guys, you know, I'm looking to see what your sort of thoughts and opinions are. As I said, I sort of provided all the information. It'd be interesting to get a little bit of feedback there. If or not you agree or have thoughts and opinions of your own, what could be causing this mysterious brain syndrome, and what is causing Havana syndrome, and do you think that you are a victim or could be a possible future victim of this targeting? And you know, what was the name of that YouTuber that died yesterday? I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with her. We're talking about her on Al's stream earlier, and not so long ago, another YouTuber called Jeff C. Jeff Censored, the most censored YouTuber in history. He dropped dead after a stream, and during that stream he was talking about having extreme migraines for a couple of days, and he sort of cut his stream short, and only to be found dead at his computer a day or so later. Was that because he just died of natural causes, or was they like, you know what, we need to shut this fucker up once? And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Jeff C. He was a great ambassador for what I call realism. We're not going to go call it truth or conspiracy theories. Realism. This is what it is. This stuff is real. We just saw a real pattern. We just saw real evidence, and you know, symptoms of this technology. And you know, the disturbing fact is, guys, it isn't just limited to government officials. They're just letting us know that government officials have been targeted by it, but we can all be targeted, and at any given moment they can target us. But anyway, still looking for some feedback or thoughts and opinions here, there. Have I missed something? Yeah, Ruth, you say I look like a pirate. I don't know if I should be complimented or upset or insulted, but I do have some sort of English, Polish. My father's Polish, my mum was English, but my Polish sort of family lineage from my grandmother's side, she was of the Romani Gypsy clan. So I got a little bit of gypsy. Gypsies are a little bit like sort of pirates that don't have boats. So maybe there. But anyway, frequencies. New Brunswick syndrome. All right, someone's tagged a car. That is tragic. What was tragic? What did I miss that was tragic? Let me go back and look at some of those comments. Yeah, T, I don't care what Murphy says about you. That's right, I don't really care what most people say about me anyway. Good show from Devil. Thank you, brother. Also appreciate your feedback. Now there's a thought. All right, doesn't seem to be much going on about what we were just talking about. But anyway, the information is out there. You've heard it, you've seen it. As I say, always make of it what you will. We just got to laugh or die. Yeah, go down laughing, I think, is the best remedy. You know, sort of when you hear these sort of good old Americans and they go, oh, we've got bullets in our AR-15s. That how can you shoot a frequency? All the bullets in the world aren't gonna take down a frequency-based weapon, right? But the Jeff C. death was very, very strange to me, because he was somebody that has already sort of spoken about this previously, and sometimes I worry how many of us could be targeted by YouTube. Maybe they just give up one day, censoring and passively shadow banning us, and they just shut us up good and proper. And was that what happened to Jeff C? I'm not saying it was, I'm just sort of putting it out there as a theory or a possibility. And when a sort of technology exists to do just that, it does make you wonder. What was that guy? He was an actor, Cappy. Was it Cappy? He died also in some sort of mysterious suicided himself fashion. And I remember at the time people talking about, was this sort of text to skull technology that put the thought into his mind, that made him jump in out of a window. And another movie quite recently was Bird Box. Can't stand Sandra Bullock, but one of my favorite viewers, Elmal, encouraged me to watch it because she wanted to hear what I had to say about it. And if you can remember, at the start of that movie, everybody was like sort of looking at their phones at one point or another, and then sort of a few minutes later they were all committing suicide in various ways. And again, I sort of looked at that as a possibility for Bird Box. BB Bluebeam in Project Bluebeam is also the technology that they're going to intend to use within Project Bluebeam is of electromagnetic frequency and radio frequency nature, and they do plan to bombard our brains with thought implantation and make us believe our own personal Armageddon, rapture, religious or alien event. And Devil, yeah, you're not too far from Harp at all. It's very, very close where you there. Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, I'm in a huge city, Toronto. Ruth, you're in Toronto. There's like these cities and Gwen Towers and all sorts of shit right now. And you know, I kind of only really sort of, when I'm streaming, I have everything on. So I've got my computer and a phone and the TV screen that I've kind of cast the comments up so I can sort of read it a bit clearer. And the Wi-Fi router out there. Hold on a second. I'll go and get this thing that I've got. I don't know what they're called. I don't know if you can see that, you probably can't. It's like a stone, but it's kind of like a grounding device, and if you kind of hold it, you can see a little, you know, like kind of similar to when you put your feet on the ground, you get a sort of little bit of a similar pulsation. But that's also supposed to be something that absorbs Wi-Fi, and I kind of keep that by my bed, and sometimes I even put it underneath the pillow when I go to bed. But I sometimes put my phone on top of it, and it will lose a data connection, so I'm going to move it away because I don't want it to sort of affect the stream. So I did tell you guys I did have a little bit of a bonus footage for you all to see. It's only 10 minutes long, so you haven't got to worry about making excuses or pretend the dog's got to go to the work, or you got to take your kids to dance class or anything like that to sort of get out of watching it. But it was from last Thursday, and sort of again, sort of with frequencies, not just the frequencies, they're also polluting the environment and polluting the airwaves. And there was what seemed Ruth, honks. Are you still here? Honks, give us a signal if you're still alive, sweetie, because if you were in Toronto last Thursday, they really were on a chem spraying, chem trailing campaign, and they were crisscrossing and making grids in all sorts of things all fucking day long. And that was kind of like the last really day that we had sort of normal weather here. We sort of had a lot of cloud and overcast. We had storms on Friday, an awful lot of rain. And now we've sort of gone back to sort of late spring type temperatures. It's very cold, and get over 60 something degrees. I think it's about 62 degrees today, and a lot of cloud cover. And next week, actually this week starting, we've got 2 days where it's going to be sunny, but from Friday for 7 days, thunderbolt and lightning. But as I said, I got a little bit of a bonus footage for you. It's actually 9 minutes and 21 seconds long. So sit back, let me turn the mic off again.
Wirklich wichtig. sind dir teuer. Und bekommst du bei mir dann Paranoia. Ich hab nur eine Nacht bei dir abgestaubt. Und du sagst, ich hätte dich deinen Dienst beraubt, dein Bett. Du denkst wirklich, du bist wichtig. Wirklich wichtiger als ich. Denkst du wirklich, du bist wichtig? Vielleicht auch nicht. Bist du wahr? Jetzt bist du ein Superstar. Jetzt bist du ein Superstar. Doch weißt du noch, wie es früher war? Du denkst ehrlich, du bist wichtig. Wirklich wichtiger als ich. Denkst du wirklich, du bist wichtig? Wirklich wichtiger als ich.
So there you go, guys. That was fucking Thursday afternoon within an hour out on my front yard, and I did sort of put a couple of copies in there just to sort of fill out the track duration, sort of thought I'd make a nice little bit of a musical end to the things. But yeah, there was some fucking pretty heavy plane pollution going on here over the Toronto sky last Thursday, and probably beyond. It looked like they weren't fucking quitting or stopping those streams. They were just endless and constant throughout the day, and it like literally was every 10 minutes. I was sort of sat out having a little smoke, and I didn't even have should have got my tripod and shit out. And funny enough, I did go down to the beach later in that day to sort of see if I could get, because it's a lot clearer, no buildings down there, some clearer shots of them trailing, but they sort of pretty much stopped by 5 p.m. It's very funny because I actually met up with the girls for that out and about stream down by the lake on Thursday night. We did a Midnight by the Cove episode for you over on TSP TV, but we met up earlier in the night, and one of the girls come along, and sort of in the daytime it was almost tropical, and she's in a little sort of shorts and vest, and she's like, I didn't bring a coat or a hoodie and it's cold. And it really was like there was a filter between us and the sun. Although you could see the sun, you could see the blue sky, you couldn't feel the sun whatsoever. And ever since that Thursday, the weather ain't been right here. It ain't been right at all. And quite a few of you also elsewhere have expressed some weird weather. I think Chicago got hit by an awful lot of rain. I got a couple of buddies out there that I saw some pictures on social media where they were like complaining about the rain. Kaz has been sneezing a lot, something in there. Quite possibly it is that sort of allergy time, Kaz. So let's not rule that out. That is sort of something, the pollen count, that does affect people. But if you've never affected you before, then if you are sneezing more, then maybe quite possibly, as we just saw, there is something in the air. So we are getting near to 3 hours, guys, which is usually the time I cut it off, which is the cue. For those of you who don't know, we might see a Gusset Girl. Where's Elmel when you need her? But Gusset Girls, if you don't know, I will explain very, very briefly to you. Back over on TSP TV, because once upon a time, we actually did used to stream to about 30 people or more, sometimes I think 40 once or twice before things started to unravel. But Gusset Girls, I would believe, were some of the sort of ladies that would watch that just like my accent and sort of add a little bit of a sort of, if someone arrived late, I'd give them an extra 10 minutes or so of a stream. And Gusset Girls was what I called a little secret society of viewers that would wait until the very end of the stream. Then all of a sudden be, hi everybody, I'm here, I'm sorry I'm late, what did I miss? Look at me everybody, I'm here. Give me some attention. I would give them a little bit of extra stream, and I believe that they used to sometimes use that to their advantage to make me go on longer and longer. But 3 hours was sort of a little bit of an intended shut off point for me, although sometimes the streams do run a little bit longer, and recently we've had some 4 hour plus streams. But in my defense, no such thing as too much information, and the more information I can share and provide for you, the more you have at your disposal to make up your own thoughts and opinions on. And not only that, it does give you a few hours to sort of hang out and chill, and you guys were having an awful lot of chit chat and back and forth, and it is good to see the interactivity, the interactivity, going on there. Is good to sort of draw like minds and get you thinking and being able to talk about this stuff. And many of us outside of YouTube channels in little social media niches and groups, we probably don't get a chance to talk about this stuff in our daily society, and even more so with people being locked up and socially isolated, yada yada, whoopie woo, ray tay tay, and an awful lot of people again during the social isolation and the self-quarantine have been sat at home all on their own, looking at their cell phone, they probably got the TV on in the background, they got a computer on, they got Alexa listening to them, they've been bombarded with frequencies and that can target, I believe, the way they think, behave, and thought. And that might be why we see people that are very, very pro-mask. This might be why we sort of have seen the rise of the Great Awakening, and sort of mostly the Great Awakening people seem to think people who wear masks are to blame for this. It's not. Their fellow victims, their livestock on the same farm. Understanding we're all in the same farm, we're all either labbed rats or we're either livestock, one or the other, useful eaters or useless eaters. They will determine, but that's what's been happening. Again, these are all part and parcel in methods used to brainwash and program people with monarch programming and the MK Ultra sort of stuff. You take someone away from society, you isolate them, and you bombard them with all the messaging and subliminals and stuff that you want. And then when they come out, then maybe they're going and try and assassinate a president. Maybe they drive a van into a bunch of people. Maybe they go to Sandy Hook and shoot up a bunch of people. Who knows what they can program us to do? And that was another stream I put up, or video I put up on TSP TV quite early in the pandemic, last year. Manchurian Karens. What's the deal with that? Go check that out, because I do believe that some of these Karens have been programmed via mind control off of their cellular devices to go out and behave exactly like Karens. But there you go. Actually, I was going to sort of show you something. I did. Let me see if I can find it for you. Hold on a second. Un momento, por favor. Right. Now, some of you guys, like, I play at the outro with a little dancing girl. Now, I'm going to share with you a little bit of UK. Kaz, are you still here? Oh my God, I hope Kaz is here. You'll love this, darling. And me and you would probably be the only ones that enjoy this. But this is a little bit where the influence in the origin off for you, and I will turn the mic off. But this is a show from back in the day in England called Tales of the Unexpected, which was very similar to The Outer Limits and maybe The Twilight Zone, written by Ronald Dahl, actually, who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But if you're a person, oh brilliant, Kaz, you are still here, you're going to enjoy this more than anyone else in this stream right now, darling. But if you were of a certain age and on a Sunday night when this come off, this would terrify the life out of you. But this is where the origin and the influence for the dancing girl comes. So let me just quickly turn off the mic. So there you go. That was where the origin and the influence for my little animated dancing girl comes from. Yeah, well, I'm 50 next month, Kaz. You do have a few years on me, but that music used to terrify the living shit. I got a little nostalgic smile watching that, for fun enough. But yeah, that takes me back to my boyhood, and sometimes I'd run and hide behind the sofas. Like, that music would trigger me into fear. But that is where the origin of my little dancing girl outro comes from. It's not because I got some weird pervy Japanese anime fetish, and when I sort of shut it off, I quickly rub one out to her and see if I can have a speed wank before the time ends. And speed wanks are something that teenage boys in England used to sometimes have competitions in. We got to make plans. Indeed, Ruth. As I said, please go check out TSP TV. Actually, bear with me, guys. I'll go and get you the link. Although, oh my god, my OCDs might kick in because we've gone over the 3-hour mark. Now, we might sort of have to try and drag this out to 3 hours in 33 minutes. I do like my symbology. I've actually managed to do one stream without intention. It finished at 3 hours, 33 minutes and 33 seconds. That's a very hard thing to do without planning. So we do try to sort of play out with a little bit of humor, because sometimes we do listen to some quite dark and disturbing topics here, and I do like to sort of send you away with a little bit of a giggle and a smile on your face, as well as a brain full of knowledge. So guys, if you don't know already, I know some of you have just come here from our 78, and again, bless her, thanks to her, and thanks to you for following her advice. Hopefully you're enjoying what you're seeing, and hopefully you guys are now the new regular offenders that will hopefully meet some more of the older regular. Where are they all today, Devil? Maybe they feel as though they've been invaded or something. But TSP TV was, for the majority of my time, my main channel. It's sort of a bit of a backup channel. I don't really know what to do with now. It is a little bit of a Frankenstein of a channel, because sort of somewhere in the not so distant past, I got the idea past. I come up with a stupid idea. Why don't I be a one-man TV network? A little bit like the movie UHF with Weird Al Yankovic. I don't know if some of you movies can remember that, but he inherited a shit sort of public access TV, and with the help of his friends in oddballs from his community, he turned it into the #1 station in town by producing a whole bunch of shit video productions like Bowling for Burgers and Wheel of Fish. And funny enough, Wheel of Fish inspired Wheel of Thrift. That was a quiz game. We used to have a quiz game, quiz shows, recipes, ramen, prison ramen, ration reviews, truth, prepping, pantry builds. It was a little bit of a Frankenstein, a little bit of a mishmash, but sort of, as I was saying, it was a little bit of an intention of mine to maybe create a one-man entertainment channel, a little bit, you know, like when you tune into cable TV, they don't just show one program over and over, although some do, but you know, you get some sitcom, then there might be a food show, then a documentary, some wildlife. And as I said, that was a little bit of something that I had intentions for with TSP TV, to try and bring a whole variety of content. And the other thing, by doing that, it does keep the old algorithm on its toes, because it doesn't know how to target you. If one day you're talking about deep state conspiracies, the next day prison ramming, the day after that you're doing a ration review, and then you're sort of, I don't know, playing shitty cards or Wheel of Thrift, they ain't got a clue. But that is a very, very shadow banned and passively censored channel, and it was the fact that just sort of was getting a little bit of momentum and into sort of the groove and directing it to where I wanted to go. I got hit with not just a copyright strike, a lawsuit threat, and the newly improved 3-month suspension from YouTube. So just as I was getting into the groove and a roll of things, I got sort of kicked right back, and that is why I rebranded, relaunched, and come over to sort of Reality Decoding, sort of narrowed it a little bit down, lesser content, but more sort of effort in purpose behind some of these productions. Sometimes we just stream for the sake of it, streams about nothing for 7 hours over at TSP TV. Not that it wasn't fun times, but it was a little bit of a platform and a place for me to cut my teeth and sort of try and experiment, see what works, practicing with editing, and I sort of took sort of my best parts and brought it here, and this now is my main channel, and I kind of do find myself enjoying doing stuff for Reality Decoded much more than TSP TV these days. Although I do try and bring, as it is summertime, we are going to try and bring you some out and about escapades. And as Ruth, seeing as you are a Torontonian, we should meet up. You can come and be part of the Out and About real life reality show, which was another thing that I kind of actually had going on last year. Tea and Friends, it sort of accidentally happened, and we had a summer of real life reality show, just walking around Toronto, unscripting, commentating on what we saw, looking at some sights and sound. And I even got attacked in one of those videos by a homeless person with a knife and a rock, who is down by the CN Tower in Ripley's Aquarium, that sort of touristy spot. I guess he thought I was a tourist. I had my sort of camera and tripod out. He saw me, thought, my goodness, there's some money for crack. He's got a phone and some fancy equipment. And he come charging around throwing rocks at me, and then he fucking pulled out a knife. He's like, "Do you like filming? Do you like filming?" Anyway, unlucky for him, he chose to try and mug me. And literally less than a minute after he pulled his knife, he was on the floor screaming that I'd popped his eye out of his socket. And you can actually go and watch that video over on TSP TV, Chew Chew and Churros. It was actually my birthday. My friends took me out down to the train museum down by the tower. We had some churros, having a good time. And for the poor homeless guy, he ended up going home without an eye. I mean, I didn't pull it out, we just sort of hanging out a little bit of his socket, but real life adventures, reality TV, you couldn't script that shit, and you probably couldn't get a stuntman to be able to pop somebody's eye out. And it's very easy, just sort of get the thumb in the bottom. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to pop my eye out, but if you get the thumb in there, squeeze as hard as you can and pop. A little top tip for you if you ever are in a confrontation: thumb in the eye, at the bottom, kind of like that, but you got to kind of get it right in. There you go. But as I said, guys, you can go check that out. That's not me blowing smoke. It did happen. Although it is very, very Blair Witchy, because I kind of handed my equipment to my buddy who didn't realize it was recording. You can hear it, but you can't see it. But I do have witnesses that will testify. But Ruth, as I said, darling, hold on. Let me give you my email. Drop me a line. Maybe we can exchange digits privately and we can make something happen there. What are we at now? 3 minutes. God, sometimes when I want it to go fast, it doesn't, and now it doesn't. But we might even just wrap this up. What the hell? Unless anybody's got anything interesting that they want to sort of say, add, or ask. I don't know, but I would like to sort of get both thumbs in Trudeau's sort of eyes and then pop them out and bite one off and spit it at him. So there you go, Justin. I don't even think he's ever had an erection, to be quite honest. I don't know who sort of impregnated his wife to give him his offspring. And again, Mrs. Trudeau, she was impregnated by Fidel Castro. I'm pretty sure many Canadians will agree that Justin Boy is the love child of good old Fidel over there on Cuba. It's dead now, but line them up. They look very, very identical. Who are you sending a nice care package? Is that like a real care package, or are you going to take a dump in a shoebox, then put a couple of dead rats in there and then send it to her? Because I may or may not have done that to an ex-girlfriend or two in the past. I once left a dead fox on an ex-girlfriend. I didn't kill the fox, I just found it had been hit by a car, and she started dating another boy, and his car was parked out of her house. So I left the car. I wasn't stalking, I just drove by it, found a dead fox. That's a good idea. Let's leave that fucking fox on that dude's car. Anyway, oh, soaps and scents, or is that slang for taking a dump in a shoebox and throwing some dead rats in there? If you threw an open can of tuna as well and put that in the mail by the time someone got it and opened it, that would be rank. He is a very, very strange boy, and other strange boys, Elon Musk and Zuckerberg. Now, I actually believe at some point in the not so distant future, or say I believe, I have thoughts that, and it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they come out and said, I am actually an android and I have been walking among you for years now and you didn't notice, sort of in the Blade Runner type sense. No honey, make some soap. And again, Fight Club, Tyler Durden, he used to go and steal fat from the liposuction factory for free inventory and then recycle that into soap. Is anyone done that? I don't know if you can, but Fight Club was a great movie because we all should sort of look at Project, was it Project or Operation Mayhem in Fight Club? One or the other, but anyway, they all kind of sort of grouped up around this, sort of set up a little network, and then went out and carried out sort of in the movie acts of terrorism. But really and truly, we need to sort of start considering insurgency and how we can kind of adapt guerrilla warfare against the government, because pretty much walking around every sort of weekend with a placard in a t-shirt saying hugs over masks or end the lockdown, it's not going to work. The Rothschilds aren't going to be sitting in their little secret bunker down there in Antarctica and like sort of rolling out their plans, and then sort of a messenger comes in like, Mr. Rockefeller, sir, I'm very, very sorry. I've got some disturbing news from Toronto up there. Yeah, there's a guy, and he's selling hugs over mask t-shirts, and people are buying these t-shirts, and they're saying that people should hug, not wear masks. And can you imagine for a minute, like Mr. Rockefeller being, what? No, I didn't see this. This wasn't foreseen. Why didn't somebody tell me that there was a possibility they might start selling t-shirts? Ow! You're the gusset girl tonight, darling. We're just talking about gusset girls, and you go and gusset up. Al, darling, thank you. I did give you a little shout out earlier this morning, and my gratitude in internal whatever goes out to you for your continued support, and for drawing so many cool people to come here this evening to this stream. So you are sort of like the guest of honor right now, darling. But we are kind of wrapping up, and I'm trying to sort of stall to get to 3 hours and 30 minutes, just because I do have sort of OCDs about time zones and stuff there. And we were. And as I said, pretty much everybody, I think well, not everybody, but the majority of folks that are watching now have come to the Thrift Store studio as a result of you directing them here. So as I said, my darling, you've got my there. But anyway, as I said, I was going to sort of wrap it up. I don't know if I can drag this out for another 20 minutes, although I have drug out a stream for 7.5 hours without any topic or direction whatsoever. It is a good crowd. It's almost like watching your stream, except we don't got the eye candy that is you. You've got to look at the polished turd that's me. That Ruth says I look like a pirate, Al. I don't know if she's being rude or not, but I think it's cool. Pirates. I'd rather be a pirate than a banker. Who wants to be a banker? There you go. But, well, I'm working hard at it. It's kind of nice knowing the rest of the world shared its giggles. Did I miss something there? But yeah, I was talking about Fight Club, right? Operation Mayhem. But this is probably what we might need to start doing, is sort of organising ourselves into little sort of splinter cells of guerrilla warfares, and something I've always I'm a huge Star Wars fan, a little bit of a geek, comic book, sci-fi, all that stuff. But Star Wars, the Emperor, everything happened according to his will. He foresaw every fucking aspect of what was going to happen, drew the Rebel Alliance to Endor into his battle station, led them to believe it's not operational, they're just building it, don't worry about it, just go there with your whole entire fleet, send your best troops to Endor to take down the shield generator, and boom, the Empire's gone. Little did the rebellion know that the Emperor spoon-fed them all that information to lure them there is a trap, and it was a fully operational Death Star that was intent to destroy and wipe out the Rebel fleet and the Rebel Alliance in one swift movement. And the Rebel Alliance fell fucking hook, line and sinker for that shit, and they were dead and buried. Even Luke Skywalker's plan was, if I just go up to the Death Star and sit it out, my Rebel buddies will blow it up with their proton torpedoes. And the sort of Stark Revolution, when he was on the Death Star, when the Emperor said, oh, you're waiting for your Rebel fleet to arrive. Yeah, I know they're coming. My best ships are waiting for them. And the poor bunch of commandos on the sanctuary moon of Endor walked into a trap. They thought they were going to go and disable the shield generator, only to find that there were legions and legions of stormtroopers waiting for them. The only fucking thing the Emperor didn't consider was the Ewoks. And the Ewoks come out of the woods with their horns and their bows and arrows and spears. They didn't have technology. The Emperor had a fucking Death Star pointed at them that could have took them out in an instant. They had scout walkers. They had highly trained troops with blasters and armor. But the Ewoks didn't give a fuck. Let's go in with our spears and bows and arrows and rocks, take these fuckers down. And they did. And without the Ewoks, the Emperor would have wiped the rebellion out in one fell swoop. So what I'm trying to tell you this, guys, as well as I'm geeking up a little bit in the Star Wars universe, we need to be fucking Ewoks, because the Ewoks went unnoticed, unconsidered, and out of nowhere they come and save the day, and they dragged the Rebel Alliance's ass out of the fire. If or not you agree with that observation of Star Wars or not, I don't care, because it is factual in the world of fictional realms of galaxies far, far away. But hopefully you get the analogy that we need to be Ewoks. The deep state have planned every single aspect of our lives, society, what's going to happen, what's coming. They're controlling us with frequencies, they're polluting our environment, they're bombarding our minds with propaganda and misdirection and misinformation. The Ewoks didn't give a fuck about that. They just lived up in their trees and captured Murphy's Law. It's a trap. No, I thought you were making Admiral Akbar references from Return of the Jedi, because again, when they sort of come out of hyperspace, his famous line was, "It's a trap." And it was a trap, and that is why they're kind of, the Great Awakening is a very, very big threat to me, because this is the deep state kind of feeding the Rebel Alliance. They all think they're freedom fighters, and you know, back in 1940s during World War II, freedom fighting meant like storming the beaches of Normandy or flying small aircraft on bombing raids over Dresden to firebomb schools. This day and age, people think while they're taking a shit and they share a meme, did you know that masks don't save you from COVID? And they think they're a fucking freedom fighter. I'm fighting for your freedom by sharing memes. That's not fighting for freedom. That's just sharing propaganda. And you're just part and parcel of the mechanism that is the deep state, providing the misinformation and misdirection to keep us all busy when shit like the frequencies is being rolled out, whatever's going on in the sky. And believe it, they're not aliens. They're not demons. They're not fallen angels, people. They're earthbound black budget technology. Who even knows? They might have fucking mutated and built some hybrid humans to shove in some of this futuristic technology that will look like aliens in the event comes. Is Lightfoot Admiral Akbar in the flesh? I'm not sure about that. Don't apologize for being late. I'll never ever apologize. We're just glad you got here when you got here. And but yeah, we have to be Ewoks. Actually, I could, oh damn, can I see if I can do that? Hold on, no wait, I think I've got some Ewok music, although it does make me tear up a little bit. I don't mean to, like, I love the Ewoks, people hate the Ewoks, but really and truly, without the Ewoks, hold on, I'm looking in the wrong file, that's right. Right, who wants to listen to some Ewok music? Can I find it? Hang on device. Bear with me. I should have got it in place ready for my little Ewok speech. Sorry about this, guys. It is the end of the show. I've done all the hard work. We've done all the serious stuff. It's sort of getting ready for the weekend a little bit now. Hold on. It'd be wrong to not play out with, or we are going to play out with a dancing girl, but I do want to listen to some Ewok music. Back to the Future. C, D, F. Wait, where did E go? Here it is. I'm going to have to turn the mic off. What about now? That didn't work so well. Let me try that again. Did it work? Did you hear the music? Go! That didn't work. I've never tried that before. Yeah, I was thinking about doing a radio station and putting some music on. Hopefully you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? and putting some tunes in, but nonetheless, that was a bit of a catastrophe and a disaster. You did hear the music. I can't hear it my side. I don't know why. Oh, wait. Didn't work. Unless you can hear it, I can't hear it. Anyway, guys, on that note, I am going to get our little dance. No, that's the wrong one. Where is she? Our little dancing girl. And say good night to you all. Sorry about that. I will. That was a little bit of a disappointing climax to the proceedings. I thought it would be all exciting and play out with the Ewok Jub Jub music. Remember how it used to go do 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 do. But yeah, maybe I'll put together some more Checky Brown montages and get the link for you guys if you are interested, because they do provide a lot of my audio copyright free for my presentations. But as I said, guys, thanks each and every one of you for tuning in this evening. And you were great company, a great audience, and hopefully you guys will take a thing or two away from this stream, if only it was just a momentarily giggle. As I said, Ruth, you've got my email. Hit me up. Let's try and sort of arrange something to get together in Toronto. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a chin wag and figure something out, put the world to rights. Honks, always a pleasure to have you, as it's a pleasure to have everyone. Joe, Ruth, my God, I got so many names to do. 49 was here earlier. God, I can't remember everyone. There's too many to remember right now. But it was a great stream, guys. Obese Tuna, well, thanks for your company this evening, but I'm a little bit struggling and also sort of starting to cross my legs because I think I need to pee quite quickly. But anyway, guys, not sure when we will see you again here at Reality Decoded. Maybe I'll catch some of you in another L stream in the not so distant future, but watch this space. There's probably unlikely you will get notified that I'm live, so keep checking in regularly if you can. Till next time, guys, take care. Keep it thrifty. Most importantly, be excellent to each other, and may the force be with us. See you soon, guys. Take care.